Opening Drive on 101 ESPN. Brought to you by Sumner One.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it's 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley is here. Danny Mack is here. Matthew Roccio is here. I'm Randy Carricker, and it is great to have you with us on this Friday Eve. Good morning, kids. How are we doing?
Good morning. I'm doing great. It's nice outside. The weather is nice today.
It's going to be fabulous. I'm playing golf tomorrow.
Are you really?
71 degrees in St. Louis. You betcha I am.
Where
are you
at?
playing at?
Over at Whitmore.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, former Fastlane producer Brad Barnes and I are going to get together. Barnesy texted me yesterday. He said, "You up for golf on Friday?" And I said, "Yeah." So, yeah.
Have you ever said no?
To golf?
Yeah.
No, I have foregone a lot of things to play golf, Dan.
How about work?
At times.
Don't tell John Kiowski that.
They know.
Oh, do they?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes Brooke has been on the radio while I've been driving to golf. Right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it happens.
I never answered how I'm doing.
Danny, how you doing?
I am so fired up about the slew win, I can barely contain myself.
I feel like we need some air horn celebrations for that, Randy.
Oh, don't.
This is an occasion.
Don't do it.
Here we go.
Dan.
That's enough. You know how loud that is in your headphones?
Pretty loud, yeah.
It's
It
very
is.
loud.
The Billikens with that win. Sincere Parker.
So I was watching on ESPN Plus. I don't know if you guys were. I love Rammer and Earl. I wasn't listening to Rammer and Earl. So I was listening to the broadcast that LaSalle, LaSalle turned out, and they said that when the Billikens scored 100 points in a game last night, that it was going to be a turning point, and that was the real Billikens. So I expect to see 100 points a game now.
Sincere Parker, if he does what he did last night, maybe you got a shot.
Cincy, yeah. St. Louis beats LaSalle 102-84. Sincere Parker, untouchable. 33 off the bench, 10 of 14 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3, 9 of 9 from the charity stripe. And the Billikens score 100 in a conference game for the first time since... Checks notes, 1966. Okay.
1966?
Yes, 1966, Brooke. And that is when the St. Louis University Billikens were in what was called at the time the Missouri Valley Conference. Still is the Missouri Valley Conference. St. Louis U isn't in it anymore. In 1974-75, they left the Valley to go independent. Then the next year, they went to the Metro Conference. Then they went to the Midwestern Cities Conference. Then they went to the Great Midwest Conference. Then they went to Conference USA. Then they went to the A10. They last scored 100 points in a conference game 6 conferences ago.
It's a long time.
It is.
By the way, to the big picture of this, do you guys wish that SLU was in the Valley?
No.
You don't?
No, I think that SLU, I want to see them aim higher. Big East is where the Billikens should be, but they have to strive for excellence. The thing with the Valley is smaller market teams. St. Louis would be far and away. It'd be cool because the rivalries would be there, but St. Louis just doesn't fit with Peoria and Springfield, Missouri, and I guess you got a Chicago in there, but for the most part, St. Louis doesn't fit with Drake and stuff like that. They just don't fit from a city standpoint. Our imprint from a population standpoint should put us in greater stead, I would think.
I see what you're saying, though, Dan. Are you saying from a competitive advantage standpoint?
I think so, a little bit. I also think about the travel and your fans being able to travel. To Randy's point, you have places like Southern Illinois, Carbondale that you could go to. You could make a trip to Chicago. It just seems to be more centrally located. I also like the fact that your postseason tournament would be held every year in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And that would give you, to your point, Brooke, a competitive advantage.
Yeah. So congratulations to the Bills. They knock off LaSalle 102-84. Missouri led at the half, but fell to Texas A&M by 19, 79-60. Mizzou now 0-10 in the SEC. And it looks for all the world as if they're going to go winless in the SEC.
I would say so, sadly. What else can you say about Mizzou at this point?
The only thing you could say is that there's got to be better times on the horizon next year with
Number
the recruiting
4.
class that they have.
Right. Number 4 recruiting class right now.
But here's the thing. How do you keep all those kids after year one? With the transfer portal, if some of them are good, seeing a recruiting class stay for 4 years, It hardly ever happens.
Probably not going to happen. But what you need is one guy to step up and be big that makes you great for the year.
By the way, back to LaSalle. You had a lot of L's in LaSalle. You kept saying L, 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 L.
That's what they have.
Now, SLU gave them the L.
L.
There you
we
go.
gave them another L, yeah.
Does SLU win another conference game?
Yes.
Do you think so?
Do we have LaSalle at home, or did we already play them?
No, I know Rocc knows the schedule probably like the back of his hand. No, he doesn't. How about one more win at home? You got St. Joe's on the road. That could be their middle of the pack in the A-10. Maybe one more at home. I would say this, though, that they are probably breathing a sigh of relief this morning down at old Chaffetz Arena getting ready for a practice. I know you're doing the bird from St. Joe's.
Yeah, they're staying in Philly for the weekend.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Here's my thing about that game is that, like, Billy Lang literally had to make, like, a catastrophically bad coaching decision by going to zone for SLU to get back into that game against St. Joe's. So now that it's an away game, I'm not really going to give them.
And then they've got VCU at home.
There.
Probably not going to win that one, right?
Nah.
Then they go to Duquesne. At least you get to go to Pittsburgh, though.
I've never heard of Duquesne.
Duquesne, it's in Pittsburgh, yeah. And they got
like
the good
Quiznos.
sandwiches there.
Yeah, maybe home against GW.
You got Pamani Brothers.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And then they got G-Dub here.
Yeah, GW's 11th in the A-10.
That's the one I had.
Maybe George Washington at home.
Yeah.
Also, afternoon Saturday feels like a good time to peel off a third one.
That's the only one I looked at on the schedule remaining that I thought they could win.
Yeah, friend of the show, Brian Jordan's Richmond Spiders are here at home on February 28th.
My daughter may go to Richmond.
Really?
She loves it.
It's a great place.
Yeah.
Richmond, VA. And then you got Dayton at home, beat Dayton, and then you go to St. Bonnie's. How'd you like to have to go to, you had a miserable season, you aren't going anywhere, and then you have to go to St. Bonaventure. Rammer's going to hate that. I can tell you right now. We'll have to get Rammer on the air before that game.
We need to apologize to Brooke, by the way. Yesterday was National Women's Day in sports. I wish we didn't have to even say that.
Yeah.
It just should be a day in sports. Why do we have to include women? Women are in sports.
Yeah.
I have 2 daughters. They're all involved in sports.
That's one of the things about sports, and especially in our town. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that 50% of the people that walk through the gates at any given Blues or Cardinals game are females. So yeah, it's a women's, it's a thing. And here's Brooke, as you've mentioned, you grew up loving sports because you bonded with your dad over sports, right? Every little girl should bond with her parents over sports, and everybody should love sports because it's one way to get away from the nuttiness of the world in which we live.
And that's why I got into sports. One, playing tennis my whole life. I'm extremely competitive, and I've just always, I know, shocking, right? I've just always enjoyed it. But to me, sports, watching it and competing in it was just always an outlet. It's where I found so much joy. Even now, getting back into tennis and golfing, it's where I find just so much of my happiness currently right now, and also working with you guys. So thank you, Dan, for bringing that up. There's so many women out there who are continuing to break barriers in sports, and I'm just very lucky to be able to be here in St. Louis working with you guys. This is why I came to St. Louis, because this is the best fans in all of sports. I know that might sound cheesy or anything like that, but at the same time, I knew when coming to St. Louis that this is a sports town, and this is why I wanted to be here.
We're going to talk a little bit of Super Bowl later on, and we're also going to talk about the Winter Classic with Chris Zimmerman, the Blues president. He'll join us at 8:15. Jeremy Rutherford will expand upon that at 8:45. We're going to talk to Lutz Pfannenstiel, our guy. Love Lutz. He is the sporting director for St. Louis City SC. That's right around the corner. Howard Balzer is going to join us, talk about the Hall of Fame vote, and the Hall of Famers will be announced tonight. Hopefully Torrey Holt will be one of those. But coming up next year on 101 ESPN, it's an early, I wonder if it's warm in New Jersey, because Greg Amsinger is coming on with us at 7:15. Rather, what did he say? A meeting.
Yeah, he's just got a meeting at 7:30. So he's like, hey, can we go at 15 or 20?
Yeah, so we'll go with Greg coming up next. We're off and running here on the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
Swiss Air Heating and Cooling, the Sweet 16 deal is back. SwissAirSTL.com. Since 1986, Woods Basement Systems have helped homeowners with free estimates for wet basement and crawl space waterproofing and foundation repair. You know us as the All Things Basement-y experts. I'm Dave, and I work for Woods, and we do concrete leveling with polylevel. This product is so much better than mudjacking. We raised my front porch 8.5 inches 8 years ago, and it's still level. If we can raise a highway slab, we can raise your driveway too. Get a free estimate at woodsbasementsystems.com. That's woodsbasementsystems.com. Concrete lifting and leveling with Woods at woodsbasementsystems.com.
Mortgage rates have finally dropped. That's right. Golden Oak has 5.375% fixed rates available right now. Our average cash out customer saves over $1,000 a month. Call today and take advantage of our 5.375 fixed rate. Call 314-567-GOLD. That's 314-567-GOLD.
Golden Oak Landing, cured my blues.
5.934 APR. FHA 15-year 20% equity qualified credit. Additional terms apply. NMLS 114937.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, it's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch? Every day, from lunch to late night. Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
No one does happy hour like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, we have everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails, served over ice balls, local craft beers, and handcrafted whiskey cocktails. Round out an adventurous drink menu second to none. And don't forget about our 29-degree drafts.
Spectrum One is a big deal. You get Spectrum Internet with the most reliable internet speeds, free advanced Wi-Fi for enhanced security and privacy, and a free Spectrum Mobile Unlimited line with nationwide 5G included, all while saving big. For the big speed, big reliability, and big savings you want, get Spectrum One. Just $49.99 a month for 12 months. Visit spectrum.com/big deal for full details. Offer subject to change. Valid for qualified residential customers only. Service not available in all areas. Restrictions apply.
This is Toby from Wendy's, and this is everything in our new loaded breakfast burrito. 2 fresh cracked eggs, 6 strips of bacon, seasoned breakfast potatoes, cheese sauce, tortilla. Whew, now that's a breakfast burrito. Only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Kevin Moret for Mentality Men's Health. Guys, in the over 23,000 clients who came to us for testosterone treatment, most clients start so they can do it right. After helping men for over 10 years, every day we see new clients whose treatment had shortcuts on treatment and monitoring. This not only affected their results, it was also risky. Guys, work with a doctor, one who monitors your care, reviews labs, and modifies your dose. Our doctors will optimize your free testosterone and maximize you mentally and physically. Schedule in St. Louis at lowtusa.com. That's lowtusa.com.
Open up your 101 mobile app for your chance to win free tickets to Dropkick Murphys. coming up on February 26th at the Factory. Dropkick Murphys will be here in just a couple of weeks, and we've got your chance at winning free tickets to the show. Find all the ticket details and get entered to win those free tickets right now, either at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app.
And we go to the celebrity line. Our friend, product of St. Louis and a graduate of the Lindenwood University, Greg Amsinger, is with us. And when Greg texted Matthew and said he's got to go at 7:15 rather than 7:30, I just naturally assumed that the weather in New Jersey was great and that Greg was going to hit the links. You've got a meeting?
No, it's way worse than that. Like, I had the meeting at my son's school. Like, he got in trouble yesterday. Yeah. So hence I get in trouble today. You know how that works.
Yeah, because I was that kid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you're talking about, because I was straight A's and I was by the book, Randy. I don't know where he got it. His mother, I swear.
Well done. All right, Greg, let's start with this. The Bill Pecota projections have the Cardinals going from worst to first in the NL Central, 86 wins. You taking it?
I'm taking it. Now, more than 86 wins. It's a 90-win team easy. 90 wins in that division. I'm telling you right now. If the Cubs don't get Balzer, which I still think they will, I think the Chicago Cubs might have a nightmarish season. All the talk about Council coming in and changing the culture, and David Ross was the reason why they let the great run that they had down the stretch fall apart. I'm not buying any of it. I think the Cubs need to get Balzer. They thought about getting Hoskins, but they were hanging for Balzer. So I think it's important. I don't see another team other than there's one team that could alter the NL Central. One. And that's the Cincinnati Reds. If Ellie De La Cruz takes a step forward, right? His last 80 games, he was too much swing and miss. If Matt McClain really is, the next Michael Young in Major League Baseball, if their starting pitching figures it out, the Cincinnati Reds, to me, are the other team. Now that Corbin Burns is gone, I'm going Reds and Cardinals are going to fight for this thing. But the Cardinals have more experience. They're my team in the Central.
Greg, I am shocked that a team would sign an $8 million manager and then not add significantly to the roster. Have you heard about, with your sources up there at MLB Network, are the Cubs interested in Matt Chapman at all?
I don't see that as a landing spot for him because of what he's asking for. And I think that's the hang-up here. The Cubs don't look at any of the remaining free agents longer than 5 years, 6 year, maybe for Balzer term. Balzer wants an 8 to 10-year contract. It's ridiculous what he's asking for. We need to remind ourselves you're a few years away from not hitting 200 every time you went up to the plate. And you can say, oh, yeah, but I was hurt my shoulder. Look at guys that have that injured shoulder. But it was just that usually zaps guys' power. It doesn't make them look lost at the plate. He put it together last year. I give him credit. It was a very good season. But to me, he's too helter-skelter, man. And the environment at Wrigley Field was great. And he needs to go back there because clearly he has to be a comfortable player. I think all signs for Matt Chapman are pointing to the San Francisco Giants. Okay. They need to stockpile veterans with familiar last names because no one wants to go play there right now. It's a bad vibe, and Bob Melvin could change that. Obviously, he managed the guy before. So I still think Chapman goes to San Francisco.
Greg, it's hard to believe that spring training is starting tomorrow for some and for some of the other teams in the leagues next week. And there's still those top free agent starting pitchers out there like Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery that still haven't yet landed with the team. Do you have any concerns with how long this will go on for those pitchers that are waiting to join a team?
Yeah, Brooke trying to be the starting pitching version of Josh Hader. Josh Hader wanted a historic contract. He wanted his AAV to surpass Edwin Diaz in the contract he got with the New York Mets. No one was going to give it to him. And all of a sudden an injury happened to Kendall Graveman and the Houston Astros, who are definitely all in with veteran players and they need to win right now. They knee-jerk reaction went and gave him what he wanted because of deferred money with Diaz's contract. He ended up getting the higher AAV. That's what he wanted, and that's what he got. I think spring training is going to start. Both of these guys are going to be left there sitting, waiting for a call, and you're going to see an injury. It's inevitable in camp. It's going to happen, whether it be for the Yankees, whether it be for the Orioles, whether it be for a team that knows they're going to be in the playoff mix. You will see an injury, and that's when a team will fold and give Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery what they want. It's funny that they're both free agents because they're polar opposite. Blake Snell can give you dominance, but he's not going to give you durability, whereas Jordan Montgomery is never going to dominate, but he will be durable and reliable. So it's kind of like which kind of Oreo do you like? And
all of them.
Both guys, you love all of them, huh, Randy?
Yeah.
You love them all. You like the thick stuff Oreos, right?
Double stuff.
You sign them both. Sign them both, I guess.
Hey, Greg, what do you think about the Vegas situation when the mayor comes out and says what she said, and it doesn't look like they can build on a particular site in Vegas, which then means it goes to a public vote? Who knows what happens when you talk about asking for fans to pay for a stadium? It's kind of a mess right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I used to work at Deerberg's, and I remember dropping an entire case of ketchup on, like, aisle 6. There's no joke. And it was a gigantic mess. Not just the ketchup, but the glass. Back when they had the glass bottles and stuff, it was an absolute mess. This lady had a cleanup that was disastrous. I mean, I'm sure her relatives said, "What were you thinking when you said that?" Look, Major League Baseball is going to Vegas. Bottom line, they're all in. They think this market has insane upside. You're going to see it on display at the Super Bowl. Major League Baseball wants to be part of the action. The A's are going to Vegas, whether it's on that plot of land, whether it's on the other side of the strip, wherever the A's are, that's where they're going to be. It's not like I have inside info. I just know how motivated the league is to be in that market, that growing market of Las Vegas. So no matter what she said, she doesn't have a term for the rest of her life as the mayor of Las Vegas. So it's not that big of a deal to the commissioner's office, trust me.
Greg Amsinger with us on 101 ESPN. Okay, Mike Elias, the former Cardinal executive, who's now the general manager of the Orioles, says there's a chance that Jackson Holliday could be on the O's opening day roster. Greg, in 15 years, when Jackson Holliday's career is as long as his father Matt's career, take it or leave it, we'll think of Jackson's career as better than his dad's.
Jackson Holliday, I made a statement. He'll be the starting shortstop of the American League at the All-Star game. We did the top 100 players right now. We had a soapbox segment at the end. I got on the soapbox, and I was angry when Vladimir Guerrero Jr. wasn't in our top 100 players right now. Even before he made his debut, everyone said, no, we can't do that. It's top 100 players. He's not a big leaguer. I'm thinking, wait, the title isn't top 100 big leaguers right now. It's the top 100 players right now. And you're telling me Jackson Holliday, this number one pick he's had a target on him his entire life as Matt Holliday's son, and he's got the best facility ever to train for this. He looks like a left-handed hitting shortstop robot. He flies on the bases. He does everything well. He have 460 on base in the minor leagues. Come on. This kid's going to break camp. There's incentive to let your rookies break camp with you now, because if they finish in the top 3 for Rookie of the Year, you get a draft pick. And this is Mike Elias we're talking about, who coveted all those draft picks that he was able to get Jackson Holliday and Gunnar Henderson, and the list goes on and on. He's not getting those draft picks anymore because his team's winning 100 games. So he wants a draft pick. He's going to roll out opening day with Jackson Holliday in his infield. Whether or not it's second base or shortstop, I could care less. This kid is an offensive specimen, and he's going to be superstar in the game. So to meet him, to talk to him, which I have, oh my goodness. I mean, old soul. He's 20 and he's more mature than I am. So I'm very excited about Jackson Holliday, really. Even though that maturity thing's not saying much.
No, but that's still pretty substantial maturity for a 20-year-old. Hey, Greg, another question about prospects, because Bobby Witt Jr. signed his deal. Of course, we already had Julio Rodriguez sign his. We had Jackson Chourio sign his contract. Do the Cardinals kind of have to – they've never signed a player to a $200 million contract. Do they have to blow through $200 million and sign Jordan Walker to a $300 million deal?
I don't know. Some would say maybe that has already left the stable, the idea of doing that, right? Like Jordan Walker and his representation, I think they recognize that he broke in early, and when you break into the big leagues at a very young age, Bobby Witt Jr. did the same thing. The Bobby Witt Jr. thing is a much different looking contract than Julio Rodriguez's. Keep that in mind. He's got opt-outs at their 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th year of that contract. So the chances of him staying all the way through it, unless they rip it up, he's a superstar, and the Royals go, no, we just want to, we'll rip away these opt-outs, and we'll give you a bigger contract. To me, that the Bobby Witt deal is much different. I think Jordan Walker is going to ask for the moon because of what he can do. And when the era of Paul Goldschmidt at first base comes to an end, and you know that he's going to be the first baseman, he's only getting better. I mean, I'm sure they've kicked it around now while he hasn't put up Hall of Fame numbers yet, but I think all signs are pointing that Jordan Walker is going to be a star in this game. To me, it might be already too late because the clock's ticking, and he's going to be a free agent at a very young age. And that is the bite of the apple that all these guys dream about, is being 26, 27 years old, free agent with great numbers and some defensive versatility, which is what Jordan Walker is going to bring to the table when he inevitably becomes a free agent. So this is something you got to do early. I know Bobby Witt's been in the league for 2 years, but that contract, you can give him that. That's really just eating up arbitration years and maybe 2 years of free agency. That's the way I look at the Bobby Witt Jr. deal.
Greg, I want to go back to your Cardinals 90 wins comment. Now, I know that you mentioned the veteran presence and the starting rotation looks better, but when you're thinking about those 90 wins that you project the Cardinals will get, you say it will happen because of this specifically. What do you think that the Cardinals will need to do in order to get to that 90 wins?
Look, they have to take care of the teams in their division. Their record within the NL Central will have to be dramatically improved, number one. I think the starting pitching is going to be dramatically improved. 26th in the league in ERA at 4.76. The bullpen is going to be dramatically improved. They were 24th in the league in ERA. They've brought in like 10 new pitchers. I mean, they've done everything they can to give this thing a facelift. So the pitching will have to be what they expect it to be. Last year at this time, they were hoping that guys would take a step forward. Well, now they're paying guys that have a baseball card that they sort of know what they're getting. You know Lance Lynn is going to go out there and throw fastballs for 7 innings, no matter how many runs he gives up. You're going to get innings out of him. You know you're going to get from Kyle Gibson. He's going to throw that cutter, try to get off the barrel, ground ball guy. That's what he's going to do. Sonny Gray's going to throw the sweeper. He's going to go 5 1/3 every single time he starts to get the bullpen ramped up, and he's probably going to have a sub-3 ERA. You know what you're getting from these guys barring injuries. So to me, if they just execute on the mound, the lineup is good enough. The lineup's going to score runs, and I really am excited for one particular Cardinal, and that is Wilson Contreras. Wilson Contreras was the guy after the guy, and that's a tough spot to be in, okay? And then after that all wore off and that soap opera ended, the way he ended the year with a 340 average in his last 59 games with an base over 440, I think Wilson Contreras is going to have an all-star campaign, and I think he's going to be one of the forces in that lineup to help the Cardinals get to 90 wins.
Any chance that Trevor Bauer signs with somebody this season? It doesn't have to be in spring training, but just at some time during the season.
I would be absolutely floored if he did. I really would. I would be shocked if Trevor Bauer signs with one of the 30 Major League Baseball teams. I really would. Really, truly would.
And finally, one guy did re-sign with the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw. They seem to be pretty well set up for a second-half run. If Kershaw's back for the second half, if Buehler is rounding into shape for the second half, Blake Trinan for the second half, they've got some injured guys where if they can get to 4th of July, August 1st, the cavalry's kind of coming for the Dodgers pitching staff, isn't it?
I mean, this team, this is the super team. This is the super team that I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, when you look at the talent up and down the roster, I didn't like the roster last year. I'm not kidding around. I wasn't a huge fan of what the Dodgers had in their lineup, and they still won over 100 games. I mean, what is this lineup? What is this group on the mound going to do? Tyler Glasnow, if he starts 28 games, which he's never done, if he starts 28 games for the Los Angeles Dodgers this year, they could have 60 wins at the All-Star break. This is how good they are. This is a team that could win 120. Like, this is a team that is that talented. So, I mean, it's fun to talk about division titles. It truly is. But can you match up in a series with the Los Angeles Dodgers at the end of the year when everyone is assumed to be healthy and ready to go? That's going to be the big question in the National League. Good luck to the Cardinals. Good luck to the Braves. Good luck to all the teams, the Philadelphia Phillies, all of them. because the team that is walking in, the team that's getting off the bus before a high school football game with the biggest dudes, that's Los Angeles Dodgers.
All right, final thing for Greg Amsinger. You are very good. Number one, you react and you're emotional on TV, but you also have a great ability to be stoic. So in that meeting this morning with whomever you're meeting with, you have to be stoic and you have to say, I don't think my son would do that.
Come on, man. Do you know what he did? So he has a buddy who always gets him in trouble. And he goes, hey, man, can you style my hair and make it look like yours? So his buddy brought some hair goop, right? Mm-hmm. So my son thought it'd be hilarious to pour the entire can on his head at school, in between classes, at their locker.
Do they even know who his father is?
You're right. I mean, I have more product in my hair than that kid had on his head every single day. Yeah, my son's just used to it. You're right, Randy. It is my fault. It is all my fault.
You're the best. Love you, man, and have a great weekend.
All right, take care, guys. See you.
We'll see you later. Greg Amsinger, you can see him on MLB Tonight, MLB Network, and he'll be covering spring training, 30 teams in 30 days for MLB Network.
Oh, my gosh. Best of luck to him today with that.
Yeah, I am.
He just wants to be like his dad.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
So the only time I use product in my hair is when I go to Hair Salon for Men. And Leanne,
where
my
men
stylist,
feel comfortable.
We do. and Leanne, my stylist over there at the Belle Reve location, says, "Would you like some product in your hair?" And I say, "Yeah, sure." But then the next day, there's no product in my hair, so I don't put product in my. You do use shampoo, okay? But no, I'm not a product guy. Greg clearly is a product guy. Question is, should I be a product guy?
As long as you continue to blow dry it.
Oh well, my hair is dry from the time I get out of the shower to the time I get to the mirror. My hair is dry by then.
Yeah. It looks great.
Oh, thank you.
It does. Well, how would you style it? Would you style it like how Greg does?
Oh no, I'm 5 swipes with the brush through the hair, and then boom, I'm done. I am low maintenance. Totally.
I just think you look great, man. You don't need to change a thing.
Thank you. Well, you knew me when I didn't have gray hair too.
I did know you when you did not have gray hair. There's actually a picture in the office with you without gray hair.
Yeah, there is.
Yep.
Yeah,
and you're a young man then. You're spry, thinking about, what am I going to do on the morning drive when I move there?
Yeah. Yeah. I was clearly thinking about that, Daniel.
Yes. I figured as much.
Funny. Yeah, that's Tracy Tarpley Gilliam, who is still in the business. She's like a big-time executive, but she was a sales rep at KMOX and always got me deals. And she got me a deal. Actually, the reason that I have a putting green in the floor of my basement is because she got this deal with the late, great Taylor Morley Homes. And so their ad campaign, which was ridiculous, was hot TEE, because I had the golf in my basement. And that's the way they were trying to sell homes with Taylor Morley. And that's probably why they aren't in business anymore.
Do you still have the said...
That's the sign. That's the sign we have in the office, isn't it?
I know, yeah. That's
that's the sign we have in the office. I forgot somebody brought that in last year.
During the break, I'll go grab the sign and we can put it up on the YouTube.
Do you still have the putting green?
It's drilled into my basement floor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's clearly it doesn't help my putting at all.
Clearly you haven't used it enough.
No, not enough. It is still there. Coming up next, because we had Greg early, we've got Sick of It coming up here on 101 ESPN. Get your text in to the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho!
I'm saving it.
Okay, that's good. Sick of It next on 101 ESPN.
Danny Mac back with you. We have Stuart from Stewart's American Mortgage. Everyone knows him as Stewie, and everyone knows the bagel loan. And we're talking about something very important. And Stewie, that's equity buyout.
Danny, we had a situation where a husband and wife, unfortunately, they're going to separate. Things aren't working out. He owed 85% of the value of the property. He's told by two lenders, you can't buy her out. You're going to have to sell the house and split the proceeds. He says, look, I want to stay here. My kids are here. I don't want to leave. What can I do? Call one lender, limit it to 80%. Can't do it. Another one can't do it. Called us, and what the other lenders don't know is you can do it when you're buying out somebody's equity of the property. Two owners, married, not married, partners, whatever you are, you can get up to 95% of the value of the property. We closed them in 10 days. They're going their separate ways. He's happy. He's getting to keep his house, and that's what you have to know is go with somebody that knows what they're doing.
That's Stuart from Stewart's American Mortgage. Everyone knows him as Stewie, and everyone knows the bagel loan. Call him on his personal cell phone, 314-324-4440, or you can Google the bagel loan.
NMLS number 226715.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplus. The St. Louis Billikens last night doing something they haven't done in almost 60 years as they score 100 points in a conference game with a 102-84 win over LaSalle. Sincere Parker off the bench goes for 33 points. On the other side, Missouri not so great as they fall to Texas A&M 79-60 to fall to 0-10 in the SEC. Another college basketball news, not another top 10 team falling, but a top 11 team falling as Wisconsin falls to Michigan 72-68 last night in a Big Ten battle. That is your Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your road and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
We got sick of it now here on 101 ESPN. Here's, by the way, Matthew, you might have wondered what we were yelling when Matthew was doing his update, and he said the Billikens did something they haven't done in nearly 60 years, and I said, win!
Randy. They've won during that stretch of time.
Yeah, that's right. So here's, if you're on the YouTube, here's the old school Randy. Yeah, what do you think?
Wow.
So, yeah, this
Look
is
at that hair.
Maybe I should put my microphone.
We are on radio.
Yeah, I know. Microphones are necessary. So, yeah, there's the old school Randy Taylor Morley spot. Somebody found this, and they brought it to the office. So I've just kind of had it sitting there so that if somebody that doesn't know me walks in, they think, oh, this guy's pretty young. So, anyway.
You look fantastic.
I did back in the day, yeah.
What about now? I think you look great.
Well, thank you, Dan. So
no problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, kids, this is the 9th day in a row without professional sports in St. Louis. I'm sick of it. Tomorrow will be the 10th, and then finally the Blues will play against Buffalo at noon on Saturday. I don't remember a time, aside from pandemic or when we didn't have teams and we had lockouts and stuff. I don't remember a time where we didn't have any strikes or work stoppages or a global pandemic where we didn't have a game for 10 days in a row.
That's a long time.
It's a drought.
It is a drought, and so I'm sick of it.
Did you include Missouri basketball, Illinois, and SLU?
No, I just included pro sports.
Sports, yeah. I bet that pandemic thing was fun on radio.
Oh, man. I may be a better broadcaster.
What'd you do?
Well, we talked a lot about Last Dance. Thank you, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
We did a lot of looking back, a lot of... and by the way, it was a very creatively done time, 12 segments a day. But just nostalgic things, old school Cardinals, old school football Cardinals, Ram. You know, we did a lot of interviews. Everybody was home, so it was easy to talk on the phone. It was fun. It wasn't fun, but it was good. It was kind of energizing because it gave you something new to do.
Just reminiscing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what everybody was doing.
Yeah, where are they
during that
now
time.
stuff?
Yeah. Well, guys, what I am sick of is something that is possibly based off of a true story this morning. So this morning, I pull into my usual parking spot, and somebody, look, this isn't just people specifically in this building. There's a lot of people who park in that back parking lot from different buildings.
Right.
And I pull into my usual parking spot, but the person who was parked right next to me, their wheel was all the way in my parking spot. So then I'm trying to find another parking spot back there. So that is what I'm sick of, is people who just do careless parking. They just pull in all willy-nilly. I would love to know what's going on in their minds in that moment. Are they in a rush? Do they just pull in? Do they get out of their car and say, yeah, that looks good? That's a fine parking job right there.
Or they don't look at all, right?
They don't. Do you think they just get out of their car and sprint? Because that's what I imagine.
So early in the morning, not many people are here. They just pull in and do what they want.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. But you see how full that parking lot gets. So I just think about, what about somebody who's going to park right next to you? You don't see that your wheel's in that parking spot?
Good thing to be sick of.
Okay, number 16 at the Waste Management on the PGA Tour. It is one of the great holes in golf. Only 11 holes in one with over 14,000 shots hit. So, it's only one of the great holes in golf in terms of fan entertainment and engagement. Sick of the PGA Tour not being a little lighter in their efforts to make it more fun and enjoyable.
I'm sick of that, too. And, by the way, our own Jay Delsing, one of the people that had a hole-in-one there.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I'm with you there. And by the way, apparently this weekend it's just going to be miserable, rainy and windy, and they had hail yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, down in Scottsdale. So probably going to be hard to get a hole-in-one this weekend.
I'm not saying you have to change everything, but you have to at least lighten it up a little bit.
Right.
It doesn't have to be live golf, but just lighten it up for the fans. I like the Coliseum Par 3. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Right.
It makes it fun.
Yeah.
And the Waste Management seems like it's a giant party, and it's supposed to be fun. So really playing into that, how do you think that they can improve maybe the coverage of that, where you could promote it a little bit more?
I just think that the PGA Tour needs to show more shots.
Yeah.
Just give me more shots, more putts, more action. If you watch a live event on television, they are going shot after shot after shot after shot. And the PGA Tour doesn't do that. So I want to see it lighten up.
Good idea. All right, your texts now on the Air Comfort Service text line. Matthew, what do you got?
I'm sick of construction zones lasting for more than a year.
I am too.
Ooh.
You're not used to, do you live here? You're not used to that yet?
I've got one like right outside my neighborhood. And once a week, I can't even get it outside my neighborhood. So it's terrible. Yeah.
I understand that. Why do you think it does take so long? Well, a lot of projects, different things like that. So I do understand. But sometimes there's projects where it feels like it's been 3 or 4 years that they've been working on this road.
That's why it seems like it has.
How long have they been working on the road in your neighborhood?
Year and a half, probably. Yeah, it's really bad. But that's when Archie comes into play. You need the emotional support chicken.
Did you grab that when you grabbed the sign?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't seen him in so long.
Archie, you glad to see him? People need this.
Yeah. It's not annoying at all.
No, that's an emotional support chicken. Squeeze me for emotional support, it says. See?
Nice.
Danny, you see why I asked the question? Because...
Oh, no!
Oh, man.
You get close to the trash can.
It away. That is so much for emotional support chicken.
You're really
I just like to think about Randy's mindset as he's going back to grab the sign, and he goes,
Randy's
you know what?
Mad.
He goes, you know what? We need the emotional support chicken today.
We do.
Where's Paco the Peanut?
He's around.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Paco the Peanut.
Pigeon and a peanut. Yeah, he's back in the office.
Wasn't his name Paco, or am I just imagining?
Paco, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, Brooke, we came up with that.
Thank you,
oh, okay. I was like, did I make that up?
We're the clever ones. All right. I'm sick of the greed in this world, especially the communication, streaming, and internet companies. That's from Janet.
Well, here's the thing. Usually when people are in business, they're trying to make money. And maybe that's not 100% of the time, but I would say 99% of the time people in business are trying to make money. And then there's this thing that I learned about on the day that I went to school for economics, and it's called supply and demand. And what you do is if there's a high demand for your product and more people want it, then you can charge more. And that's the way the economy generally works. So, yes, while you can perceive it as greed, and there is a tremendous amount of greed. What did Gordon Gekko say, by the way?
Greed is good.
Yes, there is a tremendous amount. The fact of the matter is these people can get it. That's why if you're the National Football League and the average Super Bowl ticket price right now is over $6,000, why shouldn't you charge $2,000 as a base that you're getting? Because if you charge $100 or $200 or $500 or $1,000 or $1,500, somebody's going to sell it on the secondary market for way more than you sold it for. So why not take advantage of the value of your given product?
Over $6,000 for the average price?
Average price, yeah.
I didn't think it was going to be that high. I thought maybe $1,000.
Apparently, it's the most sought-after Super Bowl ticket ever for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh, Vegas, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm sick of the Cardinals nickel and diming the starting lineup. They
have the highest payroll in the National League Central.
You call having two $35 million players in your infield?
It's kind of nickels and dimes. I wish those were my nickels and dimes.
It'll change with Jordan Walker. Let's just say they tried to extend him this year. Can you imagine having $35 million Arenado? You extend Goldie for 2 more years. He's going to make $20 million probably. And then you have Walker making whatever he's going to make. And Contreras is $87.5 million.
Guys, sure, I'm on the payroll. Mr. DeWitt, by the way, haven't gotten a check lately. But the problem with the Cardinals have is not the amount of money that they spend. It's the way that they spend it. It's the fact that they gave people like Dexter Fowler his contract, Mike Leake his contract, Matt Carpenter the end of his contract, Andrew Miller his contract. It's inefficiency in spending. It has nothing to do with the amount of money they spent. The Arizona Diamondbacks weren't top 10 last year in payroll, and they went to the World Series. The Tampa Bay Rays are never top 10 in payroll, and they've been to a World Series, and they go to the playoffs all the time. It's not about how much, it's how you spend the money. Thank you.
Is that a bingo? Well, and you bring up the Diamondbacks. Corbin Carroll signing him to that extension is
Smart.
something that is being very smart with your money there. I would love to see Jordan Walker locked up.
Me too.
Matthew?
Oh,
Time for a break.
We got to do a commercial.
Oh.
Okay, we'll do that. Let's see. Coming up next, it is, we got a TIOLI. We've got Take It or Leave It coming up on the Air Comfort Service sex line, 314-399-9646, 314-399.
Yo-ho!
Yo-ho.
Got it one more time, please.
I told you get one.
But I kind of missed it, Dan.
Yo-ho.
Thank you. Take It or Leave It is next on 101 ESPN.
Yo-ho.
say something. We'll put it out there. If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Matthew, Randy, it's the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Time for Take It or Leave It here on 101 ESPN. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to have Mark Balzer. And I was thinking about this. We've been comparing and asking people to compare Brock Purdy to Kurt Warner. Take it or leave it, the better comparison is Mark Balzer to Brock Purdy.
Well... it's very early on for Brock Purdy, just second
a
season.
guy that had taken his team to the Super Bowl.
A lot of weapons.
Yep, it goes in with a lot of weapons. Now, obviously, Mark never played in a Super Bowl, but in terms of athleticism, arm strength, accuracy, I actually think that Purdy is more comparable to Mark than he is to Kurt.
I think it's fair because they looked at, I think a lot of it was that he was on the heels of Kurt Warner. And so he never got a fair shake.
Never did.
He was really good. He was tremendous. Now, also never got a fair shake because they said he had so many weapons around him. But Mark Balzer was a really good quarterback for probably, what do you think, Randy, a 3 to 4 year period?
Yeah, from the time he took over in 02 through 06. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Really, really good.
Yep.
I can only imagine how intimidating that was for him to step in after Kurt Warner, and then you look around and you have guys like Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, all around you, Orlando Pace. That would be so intimidating to go into.
He's still, by the way, Mark Balzer is, even with the advent of people like Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, Balzer is still the fastest in NFL history to 1,000 completions.
Wow.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Does Torrey Holt get in tonight?
I hope so. I think there's a chance. I would say a 51% chance for Torrey. We'll ask the H-Man about that later on in the show.
So take it or leave it, guys. Kadarius Toney is now fully healthy and ready to go. But when asked if he would be back in this weekend's game, Andy Reid was non-committal, saying, we'll see how it goes. Take it or leave it, we will not see Toney at all in this game.
I'll take that.
I'm going to take that, too. They won without him, and they continue to win without him. He had some interesting comments about the organization a few weeks ago or a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to leave that. I don't think he plays.
He supposedly said that he wasn't meaning that towards the Chiefs, that he was meaning it towards the Giants, but I don't know if I'm fully buying that.
I don't buy it at all. No. And he's a talented guy, and he won the Super Bowl for them last year with the 65-yard punt return and then the touchdown reception and then the punt return that set up the Sky Moore touchdown. But a lot changes in a year.
Yeah, I look at, here's take it or leave it. One game to win between Mahomes and Tom Brady. I'm going with Patrick Mahomes.
I'll take that. I am too.
Ooh, I'm taking
just
that.
one game.
Yep.
Not the full body of work, but just one game.
Yeah.
I'm going Mahomes.
Here's the thing, and this would be an interesting conversation to have privately with Steve Spagnuolo, because the reason that Spags was able to beat and his defenses were able to beat Brady a couple times in the Super Bowl is because you could knock him off platform. Brady needed to be in his spot, right? He could step up, but Patrick Mahomes is at his best when he's off platform, when there's chaos around him. And that's why I would do that. For one game, if your offensive line isn't playing well, he can run, he can find the open receiver. I would go with Mahomes too. I'm with you. All right, Matthew, what do we got on the old text line?
Take it or leave it. The fact that Joe Mauer is a first ballot Hall of Famer and Yogi Berra is not is ludicrous.
What's that now?
The fact that Joe Mauer is a first ballot Hall of Famer and Yogi Berra is not is ludicrous.
Different times. I don't know why Ludacris has to be a part of this. I don't
He's not part of the halftime show.
No.
He's a part of the Wayno concert, though, coming up.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah. The thing is, like back in the day, there were a lot of people that didn't think anybody should be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and that's changed. Now it is ludicrous, but I'm not worked up over it. You know, I don't even think about when the guys are in the Hall of Fame. I don't even think about whether they're first ballot or whatever. I don't.
No.
You know.
The question, I guess, is Joe Mauer going in first ballot. What does that mean to Yachty? I think it ups his chances.
It does.
Yeah, and he should be
believe
100%.
I would look at him. There's going to be people that don't put him at 100% because his offensive numbers aren't that of Joe Mauer and others. But having watched his entire career, they don't win unless he's behind the plate as much as they did.
Yeah, and it was very impressive to watch Mauer in all those World Series that he played in for a mid-market team, and the way he led those teams to the World Series. So Mauer had 5 World Series? How many World Series did Mauer play? Let's see, with the Twins.
I believe they played in 2 ALDSs.
Oh, okay. And a playoff game once?
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2.
All right.
I actually don't. Off the top of my head, I think he might have won 2 series in his career.
Maybe.
Take it or leave it. Dennis Gates' $20 million buyout is looking scary right now. Year 3 is going to be make it or break it.
Leave it.
I'm going to leave it.
Leave it.
Yeah, this is not, this year, it's bad, but it's not a reflection on Dennis Gates' coaching ability. They'll be fine.
You think they'll be fine?
Yeah, I think they will. He's not a 2 and done, and he's not a 3 and done. He'll be, next year they'll be better, and he'll get as much of a program going as can be done.
I think they need to give all coaches a minimum of 4 years,
Yes.
unless it's completely off the rails. Now, does the transfer portal change that, recruiting change that, and your mindset of how you look at the 4 years? Yes, it does. But I do believe, generally speaking, football, basketball, you have to give a coach 4 years.
I agree. There were people that wanted to fire Gary Pinkel after his 4th year, and he wound up actually doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Especially in college. I mean, with how much turnover there is, and you need to be able to build a foundation, what you want to look like, your identity of your group. And I feel like in general in college basketball, the transfer portal has been really just fluky this season.
Yeah. And what do you guys think of Rick Pitino's idea for a salary cap for college basketball?
From a guy that's making close to $4 million? I don't like it.
Okay.
Put a salary cap on the coaches then.
Also, the guy who wants to just pass his job on to his son.
Yeah.
I guess meritocracy is not really there anymore.
The NFL has a salary cap, and there's a level of competitiveness. The NBA, not really competitive. You got 4 or 5 teams every year. But I do think that one team being prevented from spending $12 million against a conference mate that can only spend $2 million would help the competitiveness of college basketball and help the product of college basketball.
Don't you think it's hypocritical for coaches to say, no, we can leave whenever we want, and we want to get the most money that's out there, but then to take that away from the players?
It is hypocritical, but the thing is, if you have a salary cap and the talent is even, then you find out who the best coaches are.
And they probably stay at the school.
Yeah.
The kids.
Yeah. One more?
Yes, take it or leave it. The best first warm day after winter is the best day to take a personal day.
Oh, 100% take it, yes.
Ooh, it almost is like a holiday. You have to go out and celebrate a little bit.
So I guess that means you won't be here tomorrow, Randy?
Oh, no. Every day's like a personal day for me because I get to hang out with you guys.
Aww.
Right? It's fun. It's like being on vacation. And then I'm out of here, especially on a Friday. Okay, little take it behind the curtain. We're off the air at 10. Josh Ennis is in for T-Mac for the next couple of days, so we'll be off the air by 9:50 so that he can get a little bit more time to talk. If I'm off the air at 9:50, I'm in my car by 9:55.
So we're off by 9:50 tomorrow?
Yeah.
That's not how it works at all. That's incorrect. That's false information. We got to go to at least 56:50.
Okay, maybe 55:50?
No.
How about is Josh in today?
Yeah,
so we're out of here by 9:50.
Yeah, we are. Matthew's working that show, right?
Not today or tomorrow. I have all next week, but I'm not. Marshy's coming in for today and tomorrow, and then I'm on next week.
So our off time at the Mighty Mox back in the day was 55:50. So I think we should just settle on that 55:50.
I am with you. I have noticed you go a little long in that 9:50 to let's say 10 o'clock.
Danny, thank you so much. We get out every day. We're getting out of here at like 9:50, 9:45. Today, Randy's like, you know what? 4 minutes before that.
T-Mac doesn't care though. Josh does.
That's true.
T-Mac's easy going. He's going to the Bahamas.
Well, let's give Josh all the time he wants.
That's what I'm saying.
9:50 it is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is tomorrow.
9:50
tomorrow. Good for him.
Take it or leave it.
That's
Jordan Walker has a breakout year, forcing the Cardinals to extend him long term.
I'll take the first part. but I won't take the second part.
What was the first part?
He has a breakout year.
Oh, I agree with that.
Easily taking that.
And he will force the Cardinals into asking him to do a long-term contract, but will he do it?
It's interesting with the other two that you have mentioned before. This is before they played a major league game. So the price of business only goes up as you continue to have success in the major leagues.
As we saw with Julio Rodriguez.
Yes.
And by the way, his contract with incentives can be $470 million.
That's a lot of money, Randall.
Yeah, it is. And he was in the middle of his rookie year when he signed it. So, and the price is not. One thing we know for sure, the price is not going down, right? Unless you expect Jordan Walker to fail. That's the only way the price goes down. I would hope that Jordan Walker, I don't think he's going to fail.
You give him 11 years, 10 years?
Yeah, 11 years.
I want to go back to that cooking thing from yesterday.
Still marinating that, huh?
Yeah, we did a lot of thinking about that.
Hey, thanks for your text. Coming up next, Netflix is doing this baseball version of Hard Knocks. If you could pick a Cardinal year to be able to see behind the scenes for the Cardinals, any year that they've had, what year would it be? That's next on 101 ESPN.
A fresh perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
In St. Louis, time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. And Netflix has decided to green light 2 projects with the Boston Red Sox. One of them will be a Hard Knocks style look behind the scenes of the 2024 Red Sox. And another one will examine the 2004 Red Sox that played in the World Series. So Boston will have a lot of cameras around this year. And Alex Cora and Tyler O'Neill and that gang will have a lot of behind-the-scenes media that's there from Netflix. So we were thinking yesterday, if you could pick a Cardinal season that you could see behind the scenes of, which one would you pick for Netflix to have the footage of and be able to know more about?
First of all, I'm really excited that they're doing this. I have been wanting something like this for baseball, just so you could see all the stuff behind the scenes from front office executives, from the players, the coaches, manager, everything like that. For me, it's going to be 2011 because of everything that happened. David Freese, you have your hometown hero, everything that went on behind the scenes there. Tony La Russa and what would be his final season as the manager of the Cardinals. I would have loved to seen everything behind the scenes there. But you know me, I always like to have a chaotic choice as well. I would have loved to see behind the scenes of everything that happened towards the end of 2021. Because what happened then?
Oh, we had some philosophical differences.
We did have some philosophical differences. So just for the story of that, how that played out, I would have loved to seen the true behind the scenes of everything that went on there.
I would go 2 years ago with Albert. And from seeing him get signed to their conversations of should we sign him, do we not sign him, and then brought into spring training. And then he was close to leaving baseball midway through. He was set to retire until that second half. And Ollie, to his credit, was able to sit down with Albert, convince him of what he meant, not only to the Cardinals but also to the game of baseball. I would love to see that conversation and some of the conversations that they had, prior to him going on that run. Here's the question I have about this whole thing is how nitty-gritty do they get with this?
How deep?
Yes.
Because a manager's bringing in a player just about every day to talk about something going on either in the game or their lives. So do we get to the nitty-gritty of that? Or is it just like him making out a lineup card and then explaining why he put player X batting fifth?
It can't be stuff that we already know.
Right.
It's got to be something that we don't know that it teaches us.
Like in Hard Knocks, I love seeing the meetings and how they go into the meetings and they break down film, and it's kind of a no-holds-barred look at that team.
Yeah. And go back to the documentary for the Blues during the 2019 Stanley Cup run. The fact that we got to see that Berube, that iconic Berube speech, but all the things that went into that was really cool.
If I need to get pumped up, I go back and look at that Berube speech because that was just absolutely incredible. But to your point, Dan, this feels so outside of what's normal for baseball because it kind of feels like that they keep a lot of things behind closed doors of what truly goes on. Other, professional sports do as well, but for baseball, it seems like everything's a little bit more buttoned up, kept behind the scenes. And so I'm interested to see how much we will be able to see. And when you brought up Albert Pujols, I immediately thought about I would love to see that moment that it felt like everything changed for him when he went to the All-Star game.
I agree. Randy Arozarena went Instagram Live or whatever it was, and you saw Mike Schilt unfiltered. That's what I want to see.
Exactly. That'd be fun. From the 314, 2023, WTF was going on. That's an interesting one, and I would imagine we'll get a lot. I've got actually a couple. One of them, and there were depressing times, but also inspirational times, was 2002 when Jack Buck dies, and then just a few days after that, 4 days after that, Darryl Kyle passes away. But that team was able to turn things around and make it all the way to the NLCS. It was really a tragic yet inspirational story.
You had Travis Smith making starts. Andy Bennis was rejuvenated that year.
Right.
He found out a forkball from Finley, Chuck Finley, and it made they wanted to bring Andy Bennis back after having him basically away from the team. I thought
they sent him out. They sent him to the minors.
I guess if there's a book behind the scenes, and we were talking about this, was Buzz Bissinger's 3 Nights in August.
Yeah,
that gave you a lot. And I was there on the bus rides with him and behind the scenes. I mean, he truly had all access, but it was in a book. It didn't give you visuals of what was taking place.
Right. And then the other one, Brooke, you mentioned 2011, and there's so much there because that team knew they were dead. And if you could get behind the scenes for the Carpenter meeting, if you could have Tony La Russa trying to talk Dave Duncan's wife was dealing with cancer, and Tony's trying to talk Dunk into coming back to be with the team for the stretch run. Mark McGwire driving down the highway, trying to convince Tony La Russa to not bench David Freese. All of those things that happened that obviously wound up with the convergence of the Cardinals winning the World Series. Probably the most unusual year that we have seen. And if you had a behind the scenes of that, Dan, you were behind the scenes. You saw it. But, man, if that was given to history, that would have been an amazing thing to see.
I saw a lot of things, and I hope they keep things out of the documentary.
Yeah, because that team was dead in the water.
Yeah, I just think that some players will be on board, and other players, because they've never dealt with this, will say, get your cameras away from me. You got to have buy-in from the players with this. And how guarded will they be? And I would assume you're going to have a lot of guys guarded in terms of what they say when the cameras are on. And I understand that. I get it. It sticks with you potentially for the rest of your career. It could hurt you.
Yeah. You know, one other thing here, by the way, is that somebody texted in about 2004. 2004 was so good and so smooth that I don't know that there's much compelling about a team that never has anything go wrong. That team never dealt with adversity.
Was that the year that Julian Tavares hit Mike Piazza on the helmet?
Yes.
That would be like the most compelling thing of the regular season.
Yeah.
Every guy took a start until Danny Herron was called up for a doubleheader, and Julian Tavares hit Mike Piazza and threw his hat. Julian Tavares threw his hat into the crowd because he had so much pine tar on it. So that would be kind of fun to see.
Yeah, it would. In the MV3, they were unbelievable. But everything was, there was really, you know how a great movie, you kind of have to have conflict. There was no conflict really that year until you got to the NLCS against Houston and then the World Series.
1998, Mark McGwire, his run.
That one was something to be behind the scenes of. That was crazy.
How about Ricky and Keel?
The year he came back? Yeah.
Or even the year that he lost it.
Yeah,
and how they were trying to figure out ways to get him in games. It was really tough.
Well, and that's another one, because 01, that was a really good team, too, where they're trying to because the Yips show up in 2000 in the playoffs. 2001, you're right, where they tried everything they could to get him going again.
All he could throw is a breaking ball.
Yeah. So what makes it work for the NFL and Hard Knocks? Because you were talking about players being guarded, coaches, everything like that. What makes it work for the NFL that can make it work for Major League Baseball? Is it just because in the NFL we're so used to so many stories getting pumped out about them that maybe you don't think as much if there's something controversial going on behind the scenes with Hard Knocks? Is that what it is?
Seems to you guys like every year there's a star. Remember when Danny Amendola was the star of Hard Knocks with the Cowboys, and last year it was Aaron Rodgers. It seems like every year they focus in on a guy, and I think that's what really makes it good. And then obviously the peripheral things, going to players' houses and seeing how they live behind the scenes, a free agent that just signs with the team and things like that.
Just give me behind the curtain.
Yeah.
But I want to see more behind the curtain of a camera inside the manager's office going through conversations with players as to why or why not they do things with them. I mean, all players want is honesty. They say that all the time. With a manager, give me honesty. If I'm not playing, tell me why. If I am playing well, then keep me in the lineup. They just want honesty with their manager.
That's it.
What are you humming over there?
Honesty.
Oh.
Honesty. It's such a
little Billy Joel
word.
action.
Yeah.
Coming off your Eagles big concert two nights ago.
Yeah. Woo. Yeah, a lot going on.
Yeah.
That's your fresh take here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, the Blues are going to play in the Winter Classic next New Year's Day at Wrigley Field in Chicago. We're going to talk to the Blues president, our friend Chris Zimmerman, about it next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. This year, I set two really big goals for myself. One, getting back into tennis, the sport that I played my entire life, and also getting in great shape for my big wedding day coming up in June. And thanks to Missouri Athletic Club, I'm already off to a great start. I've started playing tennis with Scott. He's been so helpful, and it's been great getting back on a court. And also, I have started personal training with Christine. She is my girl. She has made it so fun to go work out with her. I now train with her twice a week, and I really feel like I'm a part of a community over there, and they always provide a wonderful experience. And that's why I love my MAC.
With Brooke Grimsley and Dan McLaughlin, I'm Randy Carricker. It is the opening drive on 101 ESPN, your home of the Blues. And next New Year's Day, for the third time in 9 seasons, the Blues are going to be participating in the Winter Classic. It was officially announced last night that the Blues will travel to Chicago to play the Blackhawks at Wrigley Field next year. And joining us to talk about it now is the president of your St. Louis Blues, Chris Zimmerman. Chris, it's always good to have you with us on the show, and congratulations on your franchise being recognized again by the NHL for this honor.
Yeah, well, thanks, Randy. It really is an honor to get picked to play in this game. Obviously, it's really the league's most visible non-Stanley Cup game and event. And, you said third and 9. I will have to count. I thought we've been saying third and 8.
Okay, yes.
Time in 8 years.
That's right, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Yeah, that's right, 25. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I know you're a fact guy.
But I'm not a math guy, as you know. I'm a facts guy, but not a math guy, Chris.
I got it. No, but it's a big deal, and obviously getting to go, St. Louis and Chicago, Wrigley Field, tradition of Cubs, Cardinals, our rivalry with the Blackhawks. It's really a special opportunity.
Chris, how did the Blues get chosen for this opportunity again?
How did we get chosen? There's a little bit of there are a few different teams, quite honestly, that were being considered, and I think all of the entities, the league, definitely TNT,
Wrigley and really the home team, the Blackhawks. I'd say it was those four entities were discussing the possibilities, and I think the combination of the league and as well as definitely some of the management at the Blackhawks really felt that rekindling the Blues and the St. Louis rivalry into Wrigley was going to be the strongest offering. So really thankful that that's how they saw it. And, certainly our relationships that we develop over time with other clubs played a role as well.
Do you think it's a reflection of the TV ratings that TNT would get and the high interest that you would get in St. Louis with this type of game, that they said, you know what, we need to involve these two markets because they're going to get high TV ratings on January 1st?
Yeah, I think they will get high TV ratings. I think there were other markets, which I actually know that they did. So there are some of their own research that might have actually been better, and yet the Blackhawks really feeling strongly that the power of our rivalry, the way our fans travel, some of those other factors that, quite honestly, were not about just the television, played a very big role. So,
hey, Chris,
good for us.
Yeah, Chris, for those that do want to travel, what about ticket availability for St. Louisans and Blues fans that would like to attend the Winter Classic at Wrigley next year?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things. Understandably, as we did in Minnesota, our season ticket holders are the ones that will continue to get first priority. We'll get several thousand tickets out of a stadium that'll hold over 4,000. So we are doing two things. We're telling people, obviously, our season ticket holders who renew in their multi-year deals, those are priority one. You can go to NHL.com/blues/tickets, full season tickets, and get there and speak with our reps if you don't already have one. The other thing we're doing is we are doing a sign up for a chance to win a pair of tickets on our Bluenatics online platform. So those are really the two ways. I expect this, and I actually have not seen final pricing, but there's just going to be a very, very high demand for these tickets. I expect a secondary market that will prove to be extremely strong. It's a great opportunity for two very strong fan bases to experience a very special game at Wrigley Field.
And this will be the rematch of the 2017 Winter Classic that was here at Busch Stadium, where you had over 45,000 fans that attended. For those who weren't able to make it, can you just describe what the atmosphere is like for these Winter Classic games?
I find, and I've been to quite a few of them, including others before I joined the Blues. It feels like it's a hockey sort of Super Bowl event. You're outdoors. It's a big-time event. It's, for any city, for the most part, it's a likely a one-time experience. Obviously, in Chicago, at Wrigley, this will be the second, and they all played another outdoor game nearby as well. So the atmosphere, I felt when we at Busch Stadium, the thing that I would describe that I felt the most from our fans was joy. They were so excited to see and feel their lifelong team in a different environment, and an environment that's fun. The players love playing in these games. For them, it's taking the sport into a different environment. And for some of them that grew up playing on frozen ponds, which is, sort of the purest form of the game, there's still that sense of being a kid out skating on a pond. The only difference is you got better ice and 40,000 plus in the stands.
Chris Zimmerman, president of the St. Louis Blues, with us on 101 ESPN. And Zim, I want to turn to this season because if the playoffs started today, the Blues would be in a playoff spot. And I've made the point here, and haven't really talked in detail with it about you, that it's important from a business perspective for the Blues to make the playoffs. How important is it from your group's side, the business side, for the club to make the playoffs?
Well, I'd say first and foremost, it's important because it's a defining mark on a season, and as we all say, you get in, you have a shot, and we know what the grand prize is. So when I think about the importance, I think about it broadly in terms of defining a season, defining a certain level of success. So, on the financial side, yeah, it's important. I don't know. I feel like in the old days, people used to say it makes or breaks a season. It's not the case anymore. It obviously is an important step in what we call ongoing financial stability. We spend every dime that comes in essentially on players and other things to make our hockey team and our organization better. So, yeah, we play more playoff games. We're going to be able to make more investments. So on that front, it's important. But, I think the important thing for our fans is Blues have been spending to the cap, and quite honestly, right now, quite a bit over the cap in terms of our cash for this year. We don't back off of spending every dollar we can to be making the right decisions for the club, both in the short term as well as the work that Army's doing to build up prospects and build, if you will, the next generation of Blues players.
That's a great answer, and that's exactly what I was looking for, so thank you. Zim, congratulations on, again, being chosen for the Winter Classic, and people can get more information by going to STLBlues.com. Always good to have you on the show. Thank you very much, and have a great day, sir.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. This will be a fun one.
It will. We'll see you soon. That is the Blues president, Chris Zimmerman, on 101 ESPN.
I kind of liken this to what the NBA does on Christmas Day, highlighting rivalries and their top players. And if you look at it, if it's the next wave of players to try to get people to watch and involved, Connor Bedard is the guy.
Yes.
And you want to watch him, and it's one of the best rivalries in the sport.
I just wish, and Brooke and I talked about this, I guess we all talked about it yesterday when the word came down. I just wish the league was able to find a vehicle to promote the Winter Classic more than it does.
I would imagine on your local TV, like next year leading up to it, you'll see it a bunch. On a national scale, how many people are really watching?
Well, and see, on NBC, you ran into it, right? And the very first one was so iconic in Buffalo where they had the snow falling and the great Penguins jerseys. But first of all, I think that's one of the issues. There's nothing you can do about the fact that the game is on TNT, that NBC television isn't showing it anymore. So you have to find a way for people to find the game rather than just flipping through channels, because people just don't flip on New Year's Day. They just aren't flipping past TNT.
And they did do a great promotion with Connor Bedard, having him out at Wrigley. That was a great promotion, but I think the biggest thing is continuing that promotion until it leads up to the big event. Maybe playing up more of the rivalry, explaining the rivalry to other people so they understand the importance of it, maybe what certain players are doing, so that way there's continued hype that's leading up to the big event.
I find myself watching Blackhawks games because of Bedard.
Yes.
I want to watch him. I'm not sure I'm going to watch other game, maybe a Sidney Crosby game, Hughes with New Jersey, McDavid with Edmonton. They do have stars, but Bedard to me is so unique because of how young he is and how long he could play, and the build-up for him to get into the NHL. That's what makes it fun for me.
Yeah. Maybe we just need to bring C-Chord back. C-Chord and Twister, something like that. That'd be fun. Let's have a fight. Bobby Plager used to talk, and I know he told you this. Back in the day when the Blues and Black first started, Blues playing games at the old arena, and the players would be waiting for a face-off, looking up into the stands at the fights that were going on in the stands, because they were better than the fights that were happening on the ice.
Well, you'll get an old-timers game, I bet, with this.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, for sure.
We need a fight. Yeah. That'd be fun.
Speaking of the fight, we need a fighter for Randy.
Oh, we do.
What a segue.
Yeah, well done, Daniel. Because we do have the fight coming up, so all you need to do is send us a text with your name and the word fight to 314-399-9646, 314-399
Yo-ho!
And maybe you will fight me next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. A historic win last night for the St. Louis Billikens as they scored 100 for the first time in a conference game since 1966 as they topped LaSalle 102-84 to behind Sincere Parker's 33 points off the bench. Missouri, on the other hand, falls to 0-10 in the SEC as they fall to Texas A&M 79-60. Also, yesterday, City preseason rolls on. They get a 1-0 win over LAFC. That is their second win of the preseason after a 2-1 win against the LA Galaxy earlier this week in California. Coming up later on the show, sporting director for St. Louis City SC, Lutz Pfannenstiel, joins Randy, Brooke, and Danny here on the opening drive coming up again at 9 a.m. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
To the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke Grimsley here alongside Danny Mac, Randy Carricker, and Matthew Rocchio. And it is now time for the fight. Our fighter today is Rick. Rick, how are you doing? It sounds windy.
Fantastic.
Okay, where are you at right now, Rick? It sounds awfully windy out there.
Driving to work.
Oh, okay, nice. Are you excited to take on Randy? Is this your first time taking him on?
It is my first time. Ready to take him down.
All right. Any words of advice, Dan?
No, you are no average show listener, though. I can tell you, Rick, and you're going to have a great fight with Randy.
Appreciate it, Dan.
You bet, buddy.
Okay. Question number 1, Rick. Who is the only backcourt player to win both the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year? Is it Isaiah Thomas, Chris Paul, or Michael Jordan?
MJ it is. Okay, the top 5 NFL franchises in terms of Hall of Famers are all NFC teams. Which franchise is number 1 with 30 players? The Green Bay Packers, New York Giants, or Chicago Bears?
I'll go Packers.
All right, final answer. We move to question 3.
Despite his impeccable 14-3 record in the playoffs, Mahomes still falls short of the top playoff record in league history. Which Hall of Fame quarterback went 9-1 in his playoff career? Is it Johnny Unitas, Joe Namath, or Bart Starr?
Can you repeat the answers again?
Johnny Unitas, Joe Namath, or Bart Starr?
Bart Starr.
All right. And question 4, which Hall of Fame NFL coach is the only Coach of the Year winner with a losing record? Was it Bill Cowher, Jimmy Johnson, or Don Coryell?
Bill Cowher.
Bill Cowher it is. Okay, we're going to turn you down. A little windy there. And we're going to bring in Randy. Randy will come back into the fight. Matthew Rocchio is taking off his headsets. And he is moving to find Randy.
Randy and his grapes.
Yes. Randy, during the fight, during his little break, likes to go and have grapes.
A little snack.
Had some.
Come on in, Randy.
Thank you, Dan.
You're taking on No Average Joe Listener, which is the intro of the fight. This is Rick.
Rick, good morning. How you doing?
Fantastic. Yourself, Randy?
I'm doing terrific. Thank you very much for listening, and thanks for playing. We appreciate it very much.
He says thank you.
Okay, good.
He's driving to work right now, Randy.
Oh, good.
So
Where do you work, sir?
Parents and teachers.
Okay, good. Good. So let's do it.
Are you ready, Randy?
Yes, ready.
We're trying our best to work around this. All right, question number 1. Who is the only backcourt player to win both MVP and Defensive Player of the Year?
Backcourt like MVP in the NBA, I'm assuming.
Yes.
I will go with Michael Jordan. I think this is rather obvious, so I'm going to go with Michael Jordan.
Final answer, Randall?
That's a final answer, Daniel.
The top 5 NFL franchises in terms of Hall of Famers are all NFC teams. Which franchise is number one with 30 players?
I'm going to bear down and go Chicago Bears, Dan. Bear down, Chicago Bears.
Is that your final answer?
Fight for the right to victory. Yeah.
Brooke, question 3, please.
Despite his impeccable 14-3 record in the playoffs, Mahomes still falls short of the top playoff record in league history. Which Hall of Fame quarterback went 9-1 in his playoff career?
9-1 in a playoff career. So that means that he only lost one time.
That'd be 9-1.
Mm-hmm. 9-1. Hall of Fame quarterback. Okay, I am going to go with a Hail Mary here. And I'm going to say that it was Bart Starr. I'm going to go Bart Starr.
You can't throw Hail Marys with Bart Starr. It wasn't invented yet.
Well, it just wasn't called the Hail Mary at that point, I don't think.
Are you ready for number 4?
As ready as I'm going to be, Dan.
Which Hall of Fame NFL coach is the only Coach of the Year winner with a losing record?
He had a losing record, and he was the Coach of the Year.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty amazing. I will do the lifeline, sir, because I have really no idea.
Bill Cowher, Jimmy Johnson, Don Coryell.
I don't think Bill Cowher ever had a losing. Oh, no, he did have a couple of losing seasons, but I don't think he ever was the Coach of the Year. Don Coryell definitely didn't win Coach of the Year when he went 4-9-1 for the St. Louis Cardinals. And I don't think until the end of his career with the Chargers that he had a losing campaign.
So you're going with Jimmy Johnson?
I'm going to go with Jimmy Johnson because early on he took over that horrific Cowboys club. How about them Cowboys? And then they went 1-15, and then I think they might have even gone to the playoffs at 7-9. So yeah, I'm going to go with JJ, Dan. I'm going to go with Jimmy Johnson.
Matthew, ring the bell.
We have a winner in today's fight, and as Danny said, ring that bell.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker. The fight is driven by CarShield. Plans to fit any budget. Visit carshield.com today.
Well, you heard Mr. Buck there, and that means, Rick, that Randy Carricker beat you 4-2 in today's fight.
Thanks a lot. Free totem.
That's a team player.
I see. There we got a listener of multiple morning shows here on the show with Rick today. Let's go to those questions and answers. The only backcourt player to win both MVP and Defensive Player of the Year is, of course, Michael Jordan. A bunch of big men have done it. I guess it's just easier when you're blocking shots all day long.
Yeah, right.
Top 5 NFL franchises in terms of Hall of Famers are all NFC teams. It is, in fact, the Chicago Bears with 30 to play the majority of their season, but 37 total to at least play a game for the Chicago Bears. It goes Bears, Packers, Giants, Cowboys, Redskins. Cowboys, Giants, Redskins, all tied with just below that.
And one thing you might be thinking Steelers. The Steelers weren't good until 1970.
Exactly.
They were like a bad franchise. By the way, Refrigerator Perry, not in the Hall of Fame, should be, though, because of the song. Perry, Perry, Refrigerator Perry, rumpin' and a stumpin' with the Bears. Are you guys aware of Refrigerator Perry?
Of course.
He has a Super Bowl touchdown, and Walter Payton doesn't.
Yeah, how ridiculous was that against the Pats?
Yeah, not a great move.
The biggest Super Bowl ring Justin's ever made.
Oh, really?
Was for William Refrigerator Perry.
Really?
Despite his impeccable 14-3 record, Mahomes still trails Bart Starr, who went 9-1 in the playoffs, because of course he did. And which Hall of Fame NFL coach, the only Coach of the Year winner to have a losing record, and it was in fact Jimmy Johnson. After going 1-15 his first year, he went 7-9 his second year, got Coach of the Year honors. They did not go to the playoffs that year, but they would eventually improve to 11-5 the very next year and go to the playoffs and lose before, well, they started doing a lot of winning, unfortunately. So a 4-2 win for Randy Carricker in the fight today. Thank you again to Rick for joining the fight and joining the show.
Randy, you just blew him away. Because it was windy.
Oh my God, that's two for you today, Brooke. What is happening to you?
Second cup of coffee.
You are full, like
Very
Randy
strong.
is just. Randy! Oh my gosh.
I'm most proud of that Bart Starr answer of any answer I've ever given.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You were very
Wow.
excited about that.
Yeah,
That's saying something.
It is.
What made you so proud in this particular moment?
because I was going through all the guys, and then because you have to go old school when you only had to win one playoff game, right? Because you had to win the NFL championship, and that was it. You won your division, then you went to the NFL championship, and right as soon as Vince Lombardi took over the Packers, they were good right away. So it just made sense to me that it was Bart Starr. So I'm glad I put that one together. I'm a happy camper today.
If you get this correct, do you know how many blocks Fred VanVleet has this year?
I have no idea, but I'm going to guess that he has.
Yeah, you're talking about guards.
Yeah, I know. I'm
backcourt.
I'm going to go with. Hold on. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go.
It's now an all-time record.
It is. I was going to go with 121.
I'm talking single season.
Single season.
Yeah.
Is it like 40
this year.
something?
This year.
46.
46, okay.
Okay, I thought I
Previous
saw that the
record
other
was
day.
44. If you would have gotten that, Randy, I would have just gotten up and quit.
How about that, Fred?
And a lot of people hope you got 46, and I would have put down the headsets and walked out.
Wichita State, right? Fred VanVleet?
Technically.
Okay. All right.
Wichita State? Who the hell calls it Wichita State?
I just did.
All right, fair enough. Good answer.
Coming up, Jeremy Rutherford talking some Blues hockey here on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and this year we decided it was time to make a major upgrade to our home by updating our bathroom. Excuse me. We actually got started this week, and we have a house in U City. It's over 100 years old, and we absolutely love it. But we didn't love our main bathroom, and this is the first time we've really done any big project like this before, and we weren't sure where to start. So we decided to reach out to one of our great sponsors here at 101 ESPN, and that is E&B Granite. E&B Granite's team visit our house for a free consultation and sketch out a vision of really how to transform our bathroom. My favorite part of working with E&B Granite was stopping by their amazing showroom to explore their large selection of in-stock custom countertops and cabinet options. Jen was the one who was working with us, and she is fantastic. She already had a lot of great ideas for us that fit our budget, and their friendly and experienced team has been doing that for over 20 years, turning visions into realities. So schedule your free consultation by calling 314-645-9300 or go online to embgranite.com or stop by their amazing showroom and tell them that I sent you.
Nuggets. It's time for the Rutherford Report with our Blues insider, Jeremy Rutherford. Brought to you by Scott Lee Heating Company, a proud Mitsubishi Electric Elite contractor.
Grimsley, Danny Mack, Randy Carricker. Great to have you with us on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Joining us on the celebrity line is the celebrity of all celebrities, the one, the only Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Morning. Hey, I'm just driving to work.
Just the best. The absolute best.
You're sensational. JR, a little housekeeping before we get started. Brooke was not aware. Brooke is, they're in the vicinity. She and her fiance David are in the vicinity. They live near Wash U, and I was telling her, she said, Wash U kids don't party. And I said, you realize that the movie Animal House is based upon the Zeta Beta Tau house at Wash U. Harold Ramis went to Washington University, and the movie Animal House, where no partying occurred, is based upon things that happened at Wash U.
Right. Come on, Brooke. Find me a college and I'll find you a party. Like,
there you go.
Where we're talking.
Well, hey, look, I understand that they do party, but I'm just saying specifically in our neighborhood, we did have for a while a kid who was just living across the street from us, and he threw a party, but JR, there was no music. It was the most respectful college party I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
Wow. Come on. If there's any Wash U kids listening, turn it up a little bit over there.
Come on, let's get going. You're
Where
smart.
did you go to school, JR?
We went to the University of Missouri, St. Louis.
UMSL.
Yep.
UMSL.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Did you learn hockey at UMSL?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. You know, I wanted to go to Mizzou, and that's not to disparage UMSL whatsoever, but being a journalism guy, wanted to go out to the School of Journalism, but I just got lucky. I ran into Mike Smith, who was then the sports editor of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and he said, well, if you go to Mizzou, there's not a lot I can do for you, but if you stick in town and you go to UMSL, we can have you cover some high school games for the Post-Dispatch. And so I decided to stick in town, and it seems like, that way worked. I would have loved to have gotten a college degree from Mizzou, but it worked out this way instead.
It's worked out exceptionally well. Okay, let's start with the Winter Classic. Is the Winter Classic now... And it's a different time, 8 years later, right? But is the Winter Classic now for 2025 as big as it was even when the Blues were in it in 2017?
Well, I agree with something that Gary Bettman says, and I don't often say that, but I think that it's a situation where it works for that city and perhaps the two cities, but in particular the host city. And Gary's said that now for a few years when people say, hey, ratings are down, people aren't watching, people aren't talking about it. And he said, well, you tell me somebody in that city who just hosted it, they didn't have a good time. And I think that's the situation. That's how I felt in 2017, being a native of St. Louis and watching the Blues and the Blackhawks at Busch Stadium. It was terrific. And while I did not get excited about the Seattle-Vegas outdoor game, this past year, I didn't watch most of it. I think that people in those cities loved it and had a great time and had memories. So I think St. Louisans will do the same thing when they come up with this game in Wrigley Field. I mean, how could you not?
I agree with you. Well, we're very excited to have some Blues hockey finally coming back. They're back on the ice today at 2. What injured guys will we seeing back out there on the ice?
Yeah, so we'll see. Haven't spoken to anybody in the past couple of days with this break, but they are on the ice, as you mentioned, 2 o'clock Centene, and people invited out there, open to the public. And we're expecting to see a couple of the injured guys, specifically Justin Falk. I think that Drew Bannister said they were going to shut him down during the break, the last couple games before the break, and that they'd expect him to come back afterwards. So we could see him today. Also, Kasperi Kapanen, he was in the boot before the break. Remember, he blocked the shot, and then he was skating prior to the team leaving. And then Drew Bannister believed that he could be available when we come back. And the other guy, Scott Pernovich, we also saw him in a boot prior to the break. I don't know that he'll be back today. But he's another one of the 3 guys that we'll have our eyes on out of practice today.
It seems like, JR, the players are excited about going back to the Olympics. What was your initial reaction to hearing that news?
Oh, it's great. It's great. And to be honest, the fact that it's settled now, I mean, if you think back to the last Olympics, it seemed like it was 2 or 3 months before, and you still didn't know what was going on. Look, Dan, I can understand the owner's side of it and the league side of it. You're shutting down your business. you're not necessarily making any money off it. I think fans and probably media, the public, we see it as it's great exposure for your league because your best on best are playing at the Olympics, so maybe you're not making a lot financially, but you're making off the exposure. I think the fact that we can look ahead to 2026 and know that the NHL players are going to be on the ice in 2030 for that matter, and then next year there's the Four Nations tournament where we're going to see at least four countries competing on that type of stage, I think is phenomenal for the game.
JR, this is probably a moot question because Doug Armstrong said that the Blues will likely be neutral at the trade deadline. But if they would fall off and have the desire to sell, is there much to sell? Is it worthwhile? Because last year, obviously, you were going to get number ones for Tarasenko and for O'Reilly, and you wound up getting a nice piece of property for Barbashev. But is there a single player on the Blues that could get them better than a third-round pick?
Yeah, and I think that's the key question. I had a conversation yesterday with Pierre LeBrun. He's going to write something up on the Blues coming up for the Athletic, and he had a similar question. And there's really not. I mean, you're looking at like a Marco Scandella, UFA, an Oscar Sundqvist, who, heck, they might resign if he's cheap and you could bring him back next year. You want to keep competing, as Doug has said, through this retool. Sundqvist is a guy who can help you do that. So if we're putting off all the guys with term, the Benningtons, the Buchneviches, the Sods, the Nick Lettys, the Torrey Krugs, if you're putting off all those guys who have term left on their contract for potential off-season moves, then I don't think there's a lot here to do at the trade deadline, which is March 8th. So we're going to see a lot in the coming games. Guys, will this team make the playoffs? Your guy's buddy Dom at The Athletic had the percentage 12% that the Blues could make the playoffs. I think that the Vegas odds are a little bit better, but this is going to be daunting. They come back and start in Buffalo on Saturday, right? 11 of the next 16 are on the road. The Blues have the 22nd best road winning percentage in the league. They're going to have to get it in gear there. Another thing, just breaking down some numbers for a piece I'm working on, you got 33 games left. 18 are against teams that are currently in the playoffs, 15 are not. How have the Blues done against those teams at the bottom of the league? We saw it right before the break. They lost to Columbus. They're going to have to beat some of those teams if they want to stay in this wild card position.
And my percent, I've got the Blues at 22% to make the playoffs. I'm a little bit different than Dom.
I like your percentage. At least I'll be working a few more weeks.
Thank you very much. Maybe. JR, great to have you with us. As you depart us, can you have your phone depart us too, just like the fight?
Yeah, and actually I just pulled into Enterprise Center here in the parking lot. Hey, thank you guys for the prep work for the Chris Zimmerman interview because that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take some notes from the questions that you asked. And as I pull into Enterprise here, I got one more turn. Let me see if I can.
Jeremy Rutherford, thank you, with us on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we're going to talk some soccer with St. Louis City SC sporting director Lutz Pfannenstiel, one of our favorites in town, next on 101 ESPN.
definitely very happy with the squad we've got. We're very happy with the squad. I mean, we got the players in that we wanted in the positions that we wanted to reinforce. And with regards to Nico's exit, which was unplanned, and that of course we're very proud of him and think he's going to do great in Italy, and we wish him lots of success, hopefully a promotion, so he can compete in Serie A. But on that one specifically is the only case where we are considering more what is the best thing to do. And right now, the view is that we are happy with the squad that we've got. We will see. As Lutz said, we've got several months to go. We're always looking at the market. We've always got lists for every position. So we will see.
That's St. Louis City SC President Diego Gugliani, and St. Louis City SC is right around the corner. We'll be having games here at City Park. We head to the celebrity line now, and our friend Lutz Pfannenstiel, the sporting director from St. Louis City SC, joins us on the opening drive with Brooke Grimsley and Dan McLaughlin. I'm Randy Carricker. Lutz, thank you very much for joining us, sir. How are you doing this morning?
Very well. How are you guys?
We're doing well, and first of all, we appreciate your time. Second of all, how do you feel about the way things have gone so far in training and in the preseason, with games against Nashville, a 2-2 draw, and then beating the LA teams, 1-0 against LAFC and 2-1 against the Galaxy? How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, obviously, it's always nice to win, but we also have to be realistic that it's just friendly games, it's test games. We're trying lots of different things, but so also does the opponent. So I won't really put too much focus now on the results, but more important, I think, in training the new players fitting in really well. The team gelled well together, and I think for us the most important thing is that we kept the whole squad together. So most of the guys who really played well and successful last season, they're all back, and with a few little additions in some areas, I think we will have a good squad again.
Lutz, tell us about those new additions that you guys added this offseason. You traded for Chris Durkin, signed Tomas Totlin, and also signed Nicholas Duyer. Tell us about those players.
Yeah, Chris Durkin, very experienced player, even though he's still young. He played in Belgium in the Premier League and came back to D.C. For us, have an experienced guy, a physical, strong guy, a guy who really runs a lot and moves a lot and works hard, was especially in that central defensive midfield position, a very important addition. And we always said, we want to have another left back and right back in our squad. So with Tomas Totlin, that's a guy I was literally hunting for 2 years, and he played in the top team in the Swedish team Häcken, which won the league there in Sweden. He has an American mother, which was actually great for us, but made it even more difficult because he counts domestic. And once we were in the bigger teams, richer teams, came in and tried to, I would call, not steal him from us, but try to get him away from us. So in the end, we got him, which was very important for us. And with Nicholas Duyer, 22 years old, played for Denmark at all youth national team levels, won the league with Midtjylland. So very young players, it was important for me, 22, 23, 24. So players which have a high ceiling, players which still will get better. And I think, Brooke, as you know, the players I like to sign, I don't like to sign the old guys. I like to sign the new guys, the young guys, the guys who still want to improve and make the next step. That's what fits to us. That's how we also want to play. Being a bit crafty and being hardworking and especially being aggressive on the field, that's what we went for this offseason.
What do you do in the final couple of weeks of preparation for the opener?
Yeah, we still have a few days here now in Coachella in California. With every day a good session, plus the game against Red Bull on Saturday, which will be a little bit looking in the mirror because Red Bull plays very similar what we do from the basic principles. So that will be an interesting one to watch because it's somehow cancelling each other's ways out. So that's, from a tactical point, very interesting. We still have a last final game against Louisville in St. Louis where we basically trying our last bits and pieces. And then lots of training, lots of bonding, lots of time spending between players, but also between staff and players to really, feel good about each other. And then ready to start into Adventure Champions Cup, which I honestly believe is a big honor for us, for the first time ever able to qualify. And straight away we're in there to represent St. Louis internationally. I think that's what we're gunning for in the next few days.
Yeah, just touching on that, for those who aren't familiar with it, CitySC is going to be in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. What is the significance of this?
Yeah, so you can put it in that way that the most successful teams from last season from the CONCACAF region, which is North America and Central America, qualify for the tournament. So I would call it an elite tournament. You know, there's lots of Mexican teams and lots of US-based teams, but then you also have teams from El Salvador, Honduras, Costa Rica, and other countries. And yeah, it's also the ticket for the FIFA Club World Championship, which makes you play against Real Madrid or Barcelona or Liverpool or Manchester City. You know, that's one step away from that. So obviously, in recent years, mostly the Mexican teams won that competition, but Seattle won it a few years ago, and LAFC lost the final last year. So that's really a high-level competition where I think we're trying to get some experience there, to do well. And having drawn Houston in the first round is definitely it's definitely a good team, but it's also a team we know very well because we played them last year in the Western Conference.
Lutz, you mentioned that you like to sign young players, and you've got a program that you're building here, signing and developing. Who are a couple of players that maybe didn't get as much time last year that you expect to take the next step and be productive players for CitySC in the 24-25 season?
Oh, Randy, I think we are a team which had lots of rotations last year. We were one of the teams which had the most players playing not just a few minutes, but playing a good regular number of regular season games. And I think that made us where we were, because we had a good depth for us. If we have 2-3 players missing, or sometimes when Brady decides to change 4 or 5 players to give them a go, you don't see much of a quality dip. And I think that's why we don't really want to focus too much on individual guys. Everybody will get a chance. Everybody will play a certain amount of minutes. And we don't have much reason to change the approach we had last year. So, I really believe that we see ourselves as a team. As a team, it's not just 11 players, but with basically 27, 28 players out there who need to work together, who need to get minutes together. And considering that we have lots of competitions this year, and not just the MLS, but also the Champions Cup, also the Leagues Cup, I think that alone you need a good number of players who get regular minutes.
And your academy team reached the UPSL final. That must be exciting for you to have even more young players on the horizon that are succeeding and learning how to win the way you guys want to win.
Yeah, that's for me one of these very emotional triggers, because all the boys who played that national final last weekend, they were from my first scouting group when I came in 2020. So that the real original St. Louis generation, players we found in the high school, players we found on the countryside, players we found all over the city. And these guys, they stayed now here. Basically, it's already 3.5 years they're in the program. A lot of them going to university, into really good programs, but some of them hopefully also will join the MLS Next Pro and in future also the MLS. So that's something I think where we're building a legacy. You give local youngsters an opportunity, and competing at UPSL level, especially in a national final, it gave me a little bit of goosebumps, to be honest, the last week, because that's something what we really build ourselves with local kids. And I think it just shows and demonstrates that that's what we want to do, that the 6, 7, 8-year-olds today, that they have in 5, 6, 7 years, good opportunities to play football at high level.
It's amazing, and it's amazing that we are right around the corner, 12 days away from the first action for the Champions Cup, St. Louis and Houston over at City Park. Lutz, it's always good to have you on the show. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it, and here's to a great 2024 season.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. That's Lutz Pfannenstiel, sporting director for St. Louis City SC, and he's great. And he does such a good job, and I know he didn't want to give us names, but they truly are building a program over there, and I think that's the way to do sports, is to have young players, develop them the way that you want them to play the game, and then win.
They have lived up to their word. Sorry, Dan. They
No,
have
go
lived
ahead.
up to their word of really building in this community. One, behind the scenes with investing in young players here, because there is so much soccer talent here. As we know, it's the soccer capital of the U.S., and they have lived up to every single word that they have said. And they have done so much to really help things here in St. Louis and growing soccer.
I think the young kids, if they're able to graduate towards City 2 or play for City, you do bring in maybe a casual fan. I mean, I think that's very important. Having local kids graduate and play for City, which was the idea, I think that's pretty cool. And you're going to bring more fans in. You'd sit there and say, oh, that kid grew up on my block. I'm going to go watch him. I mean, there's things like that you have to think about as they move forward.
Pretty cool. And it'll be fun to have them in town on the 20th against Houston for the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Coming up, they said, what? And then at the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk to Howard Balzer about the chances of Torrey Holt to make the Pro Football Hall of Fame tonight. It's coming your way on 101 ESPN. Indiana State is one of the best mid-major teams in the country. They are 21-3, 12-1 in the Missouri Valley Conference, and they'll be here in St. Louis for Arch Madness, the 30th year of Arch Madness at Enterprise Center, March 7th through 10th, and it's an automatic bid into the NCAA men's basketball tournament if somebody wins that tournament. And oh, by the way, there are teams that are capable of winning that. Drake is 19-5 overall, 10-3 in the conference. Bradley is 17-7, 9-4. And you've got several other teams that have a great chance to come in and get that ticket to the big dance. The conference has been a tight race all year long, and it'll continue until the end of the regular season. Then when they get here, you get a chance to participate in one of the great events on the St. Louis sports calendar with Arch Madness. And you can see local players like Donovan Clay from Missouri State, who's from Alton. You've got Chaminade's Lucas Kasubki of Illinois State. You've got Vashon's Kennard Davis Jr. of SIU, and you've got Cardinal Ritter's Nick Ellington, who plays for Murray State. Right now, you can get a great deal on a family fun pack at archmadness.com. 4 tickets, 4 large sodas, 4 popcorns, all for $100. Go to archmadness.com for more information. It's Arch Madness here in St. Louis starting March 7th.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What you talking about?
What the hell are you talking about?
What you talking about?
Do you actually listen to yourself when you speak, or do you find you drift in and out?
What you talking about?
Bro, I'm out, man.
It is time for They Said What? Brooke, Randy, and Dan here. And guys, legendary manager Buck Showalter has been around the game for a long time. I would say so, leading 5 organizations over 22 seasons, including more recently with the Mets. Showalter has really seen it all, guys, including being told to give a player the day off due to having too good of a game the day before. In an interview recently with Foul Territory, he detailed a specific story during his time in Queens, where he revealed that load management isn't just an NBA problem.
He hit a triple and 2 doubles, and they came in and said he probably needs a day off because he ran too much around the bases. So what do you mean tell him? Don't get any hits so you can play the next day? I didn't quite understand that one. Okay, I said, okay, you go out there and tell Brandon Nimmo that he's not playing today because he did too well last night.
So what is your reaction to that? Because I'm sure for him, that is a very interesting situation, because if Brandon Nimmo is okay to go, why would you want him to rest?
More than anything, I feel for the fans. I mean, think about if you're taking your son or daughter to the game, and maybe you've traveled a long way to do it, and Brandon Nimmo is your youngster's favorite player, and they're sitting out for load management. I'd be pissed. I mean, I understand it's part of the game, and they've got sleeping bays and nutritionists, and they travel and mark how they travel and define all the miles to make sure that players are sharp. But still, it's about entertainment, and the best players need to be on the field.
I didn't see Ronald Acuna after hitting, 40 and 70 last year. I didn't see Ronald Acuna having to take days off. You know what? It's just a bunch of people that want to get into the medical aspect of things, and they just don't understand the sport. They aren't baseball people. And that's where we're running into problems, is that people that think they know, as Jim Mora would say, don't know. You think you know, but you don't know. You know what? Brandon Nimmo could have gotten hurt playing the next day or playing 2 days later. I never saw Vince Coleman when he was stealing 110 bases. I never saw him have to sit the next day because he was running too much when he stole 4 bases in a game. It's just ridiculous. And I feel for managers that are stuck in this predicament and can't say anything about it to the media. The media says, well, Nimmo, he's red hot. Why would you sit Nimmo? And what can he say? He's stuck. The manager is stuck. One thing about baseball, you never mess with a hot streak. Okay?
I was just going to say, Brandon Nimmo never should have come out of the lineup.
No.
Ever.
No.
If you had that kind of game, you want to make sure you're back out there the next day. I've never seen a player say, well, I went 4 for 4. I need to take a seat. They're like, give me a bat. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
And the big thing here is that Nimmo isn't the one who was asking for that. And luckily, if you go back and look at the timeline of it, the Mets analytics group, they didn't get their way in that situation, which is good. But Showalter is highlighting a big issue that we have talked over and over again in Major League Baseball, which is balancing analytics with the heartbeat of the game, that gut instinct. What is specifically going on with the player in that moment? That is something where a sheet of paper can't tell you that. That's you actually talking to that player about how they're feeling that day. And that wasn't a part of this conversation. It was more of just wanting to rest him for various other reasons.
I can actually see analytics and on paper it making sense. I really can. I mean, they wouldn't do it unless it made sense. However, there is the element of, in my opinion, this is entertainment. And also with a player that's hot, he wants to be back in the lineup. It's really that simple. You don't sit him if he's swinging a hot bat. And I think that some of this stuff does get directed by the front office, if not a lot. But ultimately, I would say in majority of situations, it is up to the manager to either sit that player or put him in the lineup.
And the player has to have a say. Like he said, you guys want to be the ones to go tell Brandon Nimmo he's not going to play when he's red hot? Go to the player and say, hey, how are you feeling? Let the player decide. And sometimes the player is going to, if it's J.D. Drew, he's probably going to say, I'm not feeling so great. I need to sit today. But some guys want to play all the time. And I just think that we're getting away, unfortunately, from the baseball aspect of this. And this is another part about winning. We're so entrenched, not we, the analytics people, are so entrenched with the process and not the result that they're more concerned about things that aren't the main thing. As Dick Vermeil says, the main thing is the main thing. Let's worry about winning games first.
Period.
Exactly. Well, and Buck Showalter, he also pointed out in the interview as well, he said the best organizations like Texas, you saw a great example. Their general manager went to an Ivy League school, but he also played the game. I think that that's a big point. You need people in those offices, in that front office, who have been around the game in that capacity so they can understand what the players have gone through, maybe what a coach has been through, what a manager has gone through. I think that's another aspect so that you won't have those issues arise. We got a text from the 636, ran too much. Seriously, it's 90 feet between the bases. That energy system is completely recovered within a minute. And that's another good argument here is with baseball, do you really need load management with it?
Yes.
Especially, well, I will say with a specific age, but when do you think that it works?
I would say the second day of spring training, every guy has something wrong with them. So there's some kind of ouchie, as Tony La Russa would say, but they would find their way into a lineup. To your point, Brooke, though, I think it's really important to have players that played and have an input into the total decision making. I really do. And that goes into any dugout, too. The respect factor that you have to have of coaches. And one way you get respect is that you look at that guy and you say, he knows what I'm going through. He's played. He understands that I'm hurt or trying to play through this, or I'm struggling. I need to sit. Those kind of things cannot be defined on a piece of paper.
No. Here's a player that same age as Nimmo, played a 10-inning game, complete game, a 10-inning game, and then in the fourth of those, went 3 for 4 with a couple of doubles and went on to play. That was on June 24th of 1990, and then played the next day, too. The game where he had the 2 doubles was game number 1385 consecutively for Cal Ripken, and he kept playing for another 500,000.
He's an outlier, though.
He's kind of an outlier, but you know what? It's not impossible for players to play a lot of baseball.
I agree. I mean, there's some of the guys that are playing 150 games out of 162.
Look at Ozzie. I mean, Ozzie played all the time, weighed 175 pounds on hard turf, and was playing a grueling position at shortstop as opposed to Brandon Nimmo playing center field on natural grass. But Ozzie played all the time.
I think whether or not you like it, it's here to stay. And the more information you can get to make decisions, I think the better. I don't necessarily have to agree with it. I'd love to see players play 162. But this is the way that baseball be done this year and next year and the year after.
Yeah, and if it's such an issue, maybe we do go back to those discussions of shortening the season.
Well,
then I'll shorten their checks.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But it can be done, and it's not the fault of the players. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again for those that haven't heard. Last year's Atlanta Braves, Matt Olson, their first baseman, played 162 games. Second baseman, Ozzie Albies, played 148. Shortstop, Orlando Arcia, played 139. Third baseman, Austin Riley, played 159 of the 162. Left fielder, Eddie Rosario, played 142. Center fielder, Michael Harris, played 138. Ronald Acuna Jr. played 159, and their DH, Marcelo Zuna, played 144. They can do it. Players want to play. And the problem is that people are giving them an out, pitchers especially, to not play. And players think, oh, this is the right thing to do. It's not the right thing to do.
I think the money changes it, too, where guys say, if I can stay as fresh as I can, I'm going to put better numbers up. Now, also, I think there's a flip side of that. The more I play, the better numbers I can get. No one cares about average anymore. It's OPS, slug, and getting on base, home runs, doubles, hitting for power. And so if I can get those numbers up, not worrying about my average, I think the majority of players would do it. And if this means I have to sit a little bit, then I think they will, because the money has changed the game.
The money, the agents in their ears telling them as well. I think that's a big part of it.
Ronald Acuna, 735 plate appearances, led the league, 416 on base. He had 73 stolen bases, and he hit 41 home runs.
And the Atlanta Braves had basically a plug-and-play lineup.
It was awesome. It was great. That's what baseball needs more of. There you have it. That's. He said, what? on 101 ESPN. Coming up, the H-Man, Howard Balzer. He's on the NFL's the Pro Football Hall of Fame Selection Committee, and he'll join us to talk about the chances of Torrey Holt making the Hall of Fame this year, tonight, next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you about why I love Metro Transit. Look, I like to find easy ways to get over to games, and one of the easiest ways that I have ever done is taking the Metro Link. We have a stop that's right by our house, and I was able to take it over to a Blues game. It took like 10 minutes, and I didn't have to worry about the hassle of finding parking, getting in an Uber, dealing with the Uber afterwards, which is almost the biggest headache. I mean, just trying to get your Uber after a game is nearly impossible. I don't know if you've ever had to deal with that, but there's also many benefits even if you don't ride, right, Randy?
There are, and there are great benefits to riding. You don't have to pay for parking. You can get a $5 round trip. You can park at any of the Metro stations and get to a game or a concert or an event. But man, Metro is so vital to our community because we need great public transportation to help attract bigger companies to St. Louis. And if you already like Metro, you'll love it once you know what difference it makes in all of our communities, in helping our communities grow, helping businesses come to St. Louis. MLS, one of the things they wanted is great public transportation, and that's one of the reasons that we have City Park where it is in St. Louis. You need to take advantage of what we have here in St. Louis with great public transportation with Metro. In short, thanks to Metro, you don't have to drive to thrive.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. St. Louis Billikens last night with a historic 102-84 win over LaSalle, their first 100-point game again in conference play since 1966. Sincere Parker comes off the bench to drop 33 for the Billikens, and the Missouri Tigers fall to 0-10 in SEC play as they fall to Texas A&M 79-60. And yesterday, St. Louis City SC came away with a 1-0 win in their friendly against LAFC. They have one more friendly in California before they head home against the New York Red Bulls. You can catch our interview with Lutz Pfannenstiel on the Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers podcast later on today. Coming up now, it's Howard Balzer talking about the Super Bowl and the Hall of Fame. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Danny Mac, Randy Carricker. It is the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, and our longtime friend Howard Balzer covered the St. Louis Rams for the entire time they were here, covered the St. Louis Cardinals as well. Now he covers the Arizona Cardinals, and he joins us from Vegas, where H is covering his 43rd Super Bowl. H, man, as always, good to talk to you. How are you doing today?
Randy, I'm doing great. Hope you are too, and of course everybody back there in St. Louis.
We are thrilled to have you with us, and this is year 20 for you on the NFL's Hall of Fame selection committee. And one of the reasons that we wanted to have you on is to talk about Torrey Holt of the St. Louis Rams. As you went through the process, H, how did you feel about the way Torrey was discussed this year?
He was discussed very positively, and I will say that for the most part, in 99.9% of the cases, when these finalists get discussed, it's all very positive, and that's what makes all of the voting and the decision making so difficult. And the one thing I always say is that sometimes I think people don't realize just how hard it is just to make it to that final 15, much less to be left standing when you get down to 5. So it was very positive for Torrey. It's been positive now in these 5 years that I've made the presentation for him. But, of course, complicating it is there were good presentations for Andre Johnson, good presentation for Reggie Wayne. And when you have a number of players at that same position, it gets difficult because everyone, when you get down to the voting, has their own way of looking at it and deciding who to move forward in the process.
Howard, what was that presentation like for Torrey Holt?
Well, it's interesting because every year it's really hard when you go back there year after year to do this. And I faced it with Isaac Bruce. And so each year you think of different things that you can bring into the conversation that maybe you haven't before. And one of the things that I stressed this year was that it was 4 years ago that Isaac was elected, and that was Torrey's first year of eligibility, which somewhat surprised me at the time because I didn't think he'd become a finalist until Isaac got in. And so I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for Torrey because didn't find out he was a finalist until maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the meeting, whereas I'd been doing Isaac already for several years. Well, this year what I emphasized in my opening was that even though Isaac had been a finalist before Torrey, that I felt and I believed and I had supporting, testimonials from people that Torrey was every bit the receiver that Isaac Bruce was. And that was one of the things, aside from reciting his numbers and all those things, that was one of the themes that I did a little bit differently this year. And hopefully it will have had an impact.
H, paint a picture for us. Who's in there, how much time you get to present, so on and so forth.
Well, there's 50 selectors. It had been 49 for a few years, and now it's a nice round number of 50. And we do it by Zoom. We've done it by Zoom for the last 4 years, so everyone prefers it to be in person, but we haven't been able to do that. There was an attempt to do that this year, but there were a whole bunch of travel issues that kept it from happening. But there's 50 of us, and those who present one of the finalists have 5 minutes to make an opening presentation. Then it opens for discussion, and those discussions can range from 10 minutes to a half hour to even longer sometimes if there's a lot to be said for someone. At the end of the discussion, they go back to the presenter, which, of course, for Torrey Holt is me, and you make some final comments, and then it moves on for the next guy. I will say this, that with the receivers and when you have multiple guys at a position, but especially with the receivers because it is so numbers-based, that they're all presented at the same time, or at least within the same amount of time. So, Torrey was first, because it's done in alphabetical order. It was Torrey first, then Andre Johnson, then Reggie Dwayne. But the discussion time for each one increased because as we got to all three of them, the discussion became less about the individual guy in that particular presentation as opposed to comparisons and talking about this guy and that guy. And so the total for those three guys came to close to about an hour and 15 minutes for the three receivers this year in the presentations and in the discussion.
H, there's a perception that, if true, bothers me, and it's this, that there are voters that think that a team can have too many guys. Rather than looking at the individual, they say, well, that team already has Warner and Bruce and Falk and Pace and Aeneas Williams and Dick Vermeil. That's enough for that team. Is that perception that I have, that I've heard about, is that real? Do people, from what you observe, make judgments based upon how many great players were on a team?
I can't get into the mind, obviously, of everybody else, but I can say that has never been said in a meeting, and that's never been voiced. Now, that doesn't mean there might be some who have that in the back of their mind, and I think there's been the belief that that's happened to players from other teams in the past. So it took Jerry Kramer of the Packers, for example, so long to get in because there were so many Packers, so many Steelers that it kept some of those guys. Of course, they had more than this Greatest Show on Turf group had, but there's always been the feeling that affected it. And so, but like I said, it's not discussed. No one's ever said it to me, even in private. Do some have that thought? Who knows? But all I can go on is what the discussion is, and it's very favorable, not only, like I said, not only to Torrey, but to all the receivers and to everyone who's presented in that final 15.
There's already been a leak out, and I'm not sure if you have seen this or not, but according to some sources with NBC Chicago, Devin Hester, Steve Michael, and Julius Peppers will be announced as the inductees tonight. How does that get out? Do you think that that's true?
I can't comment on whether it's true or not. It's, how it gets out sometimes. I mean, the reality is we voted a few weeks ago, and that means that we all knew. I think, I know that I have lived up to not saying a word about it. But, of course, those who are going in know. Those who didn't make it were contacted to say not this year. Obviously, family members of those people who were in know. And so it's been pretty incredible in the last few years of doing it this way that more hasn't come out. Very little, if that anything, has. And so, but the only way it could be leaked is by any of those people. And I know also because NFL Network gets involved in this, and they film the Hall of Famers and the Hall of Fame, the people from the Hall of Fame, and they go to the people who are getting in. They go to their home to knock on their door and surprise them, and they bring a Hall of Famer that they knew or from their team with them. So there are a number of people who know, those who are filming it all. They're made to sign NDAs that they are not to disclose anything. But we know the reality in this world is somebody talks sometimes, and that it's unfortunate that someone would. To kind of spoil the surprise. But, I saw someone told me that someone on NFL.com yesterday, they wrote them some things, and I said, well, some of that might not be true. So that's about all I can say about that aspect of it. Everybody's going to have to wait till tonight to find out.
H, the further that Torrey, let's just assume that he doesn't get in tonight, the further that you get away from his career, does it make it harder for these players to get in?
In some ways, sometimes you think that, but when someone's been a finalist that many times, and it's happened with some other guys. I mean, John Lynch of the Buccaneers went in a couple years ago, I think it was, and he had been a finalist 8 times, and he finally did. I think when guys come back year after year after year, at some point they are going to get in. I don't think it affects it that much. Yes, it's further. It's been a longer time each year that guy played, but with all the discussion and all the things that everybody knows, I think everybody realizes where these players stand. And I think when it gets to a certain point, and I'm sure it will with Torrey coming up, that everyone will look at it. Because here's the thing. I mean, excuse me, he's been a finalist now 5 times. He and Reggie Wayne had the most number of finalist spots of everyone in the 15. And also Torrey, though, has been eligible for 10 years. And that's halfway through the modern day eligibility before you go to the seniors pool. And I made the point, I've always said that if Torrey had been able to play a couple more years, and of course his career ended because of a knee injury, he not only would have added numbers to his resume, but he also would have separated himself from the other Rams, especially with Kurt and Orlando and Isaac, because they all became first-time eligible the same year. And so there was a little bit of a waiting period for those guys because there were so many at the same time. But no, overall, I don't think it affects it that much. When you're back year after year after year, there's going to come a time that you get in. People don't realize this. Here's an interesting note. Excuse me. Lynn Swann was a finalist for 14 years before he finally got elected. And part of that was that he was going against John Stallworth, his teammate, for a number of those years. And both of them were being discussed in the meeting at the same time. I wasn't a part of the committee then, but they were both being discussed at the same time. And finally, the year that Lynn Swann went in, John Stallworth went in the very next year. So I'm confident it's going to happen. It will happen for Torrey. It very well might be tonight, but if it doesn't, it's going to happen in the very, very near future. I'm very confident of that.
H, two more quick things. Number one, my favorite statistic in regards to Torrey Holt in the Hall of Fame is that from 2000 to 2009, in the prime of the careers of Terrell Owens and Randy Moss and Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, Torrey Holt had more catches for more yards than anybody. To me, that makes it a pretty simple decision for my vote. Is that your number one stat, or do you have another Torrey stat for the Hall of Fame?
That's one of them, definitely, that's in there. And, a study was done of the top, the best 8 years of not only some of the current guys, but some of the Hall of Famers already. And Torrey ranked number 3 all time of Hall of Famers. So that's one. The other is, and this kind of plays into the stat you just mentioned, Randy, is that his numbers he was all decade. He was part of, 4 guys who were all decade in the 2000s. And he has the most yards, touchdowns, and receptions in a decade of any receiver in history. And so that's one that I certainly bring up year after year after year. And, but everyone has their opinions. Like I said, his overall totals don't reach Reggie Wayne or Andre Johnson because he didn't play as many years. And I pointed out how his average yards per game and some of his receptions per game and touchdowns per game were not only right there with those guys, but were better than them in some categories, including average yards per game, which actually went down by 6 yards per game in the last 2 years of his career. But he ranks, I believe, it's either 8th or 9th all time in average yards per game for a receiver, and 6 of the guys that are ahead of him are active right now in the NFL.
Wow. And then the final thing, H, and Bernie always told this story about when Ira Miller presented Joe Montana. He said, guys, we can either go through my presentation of Joe Montana or we can take a bathroom break. And and the voting people decided to take the bathroom break because it was so obvious. Was there anybody really obvious this year, a first-timer that you didn't even have to think about?
Not from that standpoint, but since then there have been those mic drop moments, if you will, and Peyton Manning was one where the Colts representative stood up and said, "I present Peyton Manning for the Pro Football Hall of Fame," and then sat down, and then the moderator said, "Any discussion?" and there was none, and we moved on, which is always nice when you have an 8 or 9 hour meeting that you don't have to spend any time on one of the finalists.
H, it's great to hear your voice and love what you're doing. Love that you're enjoying I assume you're enjoying the Valley of the Sun. It's pretty nice down there in February, right?
It's definitely nice. You get some stretches of tough, some chilly. I love when people in Phoenix, when it's in the high 50s or low 60s, and they call it cold. And I said, no, you don't know what cold is, but it's still very pleasant. And then you get those 70-degree days, even if it's chilly at night. You get those 70-degree days with the sun out almost every day.
Pretty nice. H, great to hear your voice. Thanks so much for the time, and have fun down there in Vegas.
Appreciate it, guys. Take care anytime.
Thank you. That's Howard Balzer with us on 101 ESPN. Good to have his voice on our airwaves and have him talking about the Hall of Fame. Hopefully, Torrey gets in.
I'm very excited to see if that happens tonight. I feel it. I don't know. Do you guys feel it a little bit?
Yeah, I was saying 51%. I feel 51-49.
I think he's out for one more year.
Okay.
And I hate saying that, but he should be in. It should be automatic.
Yeah.
It should be easy. Now, I believe, and H reference this. I don't think there's ever been a finalist, one of the final 15, that didn't wind up making the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
Yep.
It did make me feel a little bit better that he said there that he does think that he will eventually get in.
Yeah. Oh,
he's getting in.
Will. Yeah. And by the way, I've heard that Rick Gosselin from the Dallas Morning News is a guy that says, that team has enough players. We don't need to put another.
That's such a crazy thing to say.
It's unreal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
From the Dallas Morning News, you say?
Yeah.
Huh.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
When you look at the stats, Michael Irvin really just, not that impressive. Now, I don't think he's not a Hall of Famer because of that, because of the team he played on, but nonetheless.
There you go. Coming up, we've got rock and roll as we head down the stretch of this edition of the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN.
If you can't get enough of daily fantasy here in Missouri, but you're tired of the same old games, our friends at Underdog Fantasy have a new way for you to play with their Pick'em Champions. You just select 2 to 5 players from at least 2 different teams. You select higher or lower on the player stat projections, and then you're entered into a game alongside other Underdog participants. My favorite part about Underdog is they're always changing the game to make it better for their participants. Right now, you can get onto their app, and you can pick some scorchers for your big game entries. Also, again, if you sign up right now, you're going to get that 0.5 total yards. I have it right now in my entry for the big game. Pat Mahomes plus 0.5 total yards means that I'm going to get some free money. I'm going to combine that with Christian McCaffrey higher on his rushing yards, Rashee Rice higher on his targets. That gives me about a 17.5x on my return on Underdog Fantasy, because again, they're doing everything they can to give you the best odds on their games. Underdog Fantasy, so easy to play on their website or on their easy-to-use mobile app. You just sign up with the promo code ROCC, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. Plus, they're going to give you that special pick of higher than 0.5 total yards to use on your first pick'em entry. Again, perfect for Pat Mahomes, 0.5 yards higher for your big game entries. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code ROCK to get your first deposit of $10 or more doubled up to $100. Plus, that special pick must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncbgambler.org.
want to rock. And roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
Okay, breakfast plans for tomorrow. You guys want me to bring in breakfast for tomorrow from Hardee's?
Sure.
I'll stop by. I'll leave early because it's Heat Up St. Louis, and we're going to Heat Up St. Louis tomorrow with the 24th annual Hardee's Rise and Shine fundraiser. You can stop by any participating Hardee's in the bi-state area and grab a sausage biscuit or egg biscuit for just $1, and a lot of our Hubbard Radio colleagues are going to be out at local Hardee's. 100% of the proceeds of all funds collected help Heat Up St. Louis, supporting people in need in both Missouri and Illinois. It's Friday morning, tomorrow morning at any participating Hardee's. Find more info at 101ESPN.com.
What time does that open up for you?
I believe our people start at 7 or at 6, but I think the Hardee's might open at 5.
You going to be there at 5?
I'll get there in time to. I can't participate because of the show in terms of raising money, but I will pay money so that we can have sausage and or egg biscuits tomorrow.
You know, you guys have gone too long in this show. It's 9:50.
What's that mean?
Remember, we talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
We got to get off the air.
We negotiated that.
Yeah.
I do have a request, though, if you are getting something.
Yes.
Do they still have the cinnamon raisin biscuit?
If they do, we'll have 4 of them in this room.
Because those are so good.
Okay, we'll check it out. Hey, don't forget also that March Madness is coming up, and we have your chance to win a pair of single-session tickets to the 2024 State Farm Missouri Valley Conference Men's Basketball Tournament. It's at Enterprise Center, March 7th through 10th. All session and single-session tickets are on sale now, and you can learn more about the tournament and register to win Arch Madness tickets at 101ESPN.com or on the 101 mobile app. But right now, if you text into the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO, you can win tickets to Arch Madness March 7th through 10th at Enterprise Center. And Matthew has a question that if you answer correctly and text in and give the answer to, you might win these tickets. Matthew, what do you got for us?
We talked earlier about SLU's record-breaking performance last night, their first 100-point game in a conference game in almost 60 years. They also have been through a lot of conferences in that time. Randy Carricker went through it. How many conferences has SLU been in since their last 100-point conference game?
Oh, there we go. I like that one. That's fun. Okay. That's good to know. All right, and let's do a couple of minutes. By the way, our friend Josh Innes is going to take over. He's going to have a balloon party from 10 to 11. Matthew, what do we got in terms of rocking and rolling?
Sorry, the computer decides to.
Oh, that happens sometimes.
The computer decides not to work for us, and it's like, hey, who needs audio equipment on an audio computer?
Back in my day, we didn't need computers. We had the ticker. Check the ticker and be back in a minute.
Mm-hmm. We were talking a little bit about City, and I thought this point coming out of the MLS was fascinating, as the Hong Kong government has now demanded answers from Inter Miami CF and Lionel Messi on Wednesday after the Argentine played in a friendly in Japan just 3 days after missing a similar exhibition match in its country. Quote unquote, from the Hong Kong's Culture, Sports, and Tourism Bureau says that they're very disappointed that he couldn't play due to injury. However, 3 days later, Messi was able to play actively and freely in Japan. I want to be such a athletic star that whole ass governments are mad when I don't play in their country.
I get it.
That's how you do it right there.
They probably did a lot of promo and everything like that.
We like Hong Kong, right?
Yes.
They were good.
He also said that he's kind of getting sick of all this in terms of being the guy at every single place that he goes. He's getting paid, though, to be the guy every single place he goes.
That's what I was going to say. He's getting paid, too. He is the star. He knows he's a global superstar, so that's the expectation that comes with it.
Yeah, so tough beans, Lionel.
And listen, here, the deep cut is that Inter Miami is blowing this preseason. They're screwing it up royally. They signed Luis Suarez, who's another old, very, very talented player.
He used to play third base for the Reds, right?
No, he used to bite people.
That was Eugenio. Suarez.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Dan.
No, Luis Suarez is the player who bit somebody in the World Cup.
Oh, yeah.
If you remember that?
Yeah,
that was Luis Suarez.
Yeah, he Holyfielded that guy.
Yeah, he Holyfielded that guy. And they also have him, and pretty much his agent told him, he told him, hey, I'm older. I can't play multiple matches within a week span. And then they played him in all 3 of a friendly within a week.
Load management. There we go.
And so they're screwing this up royally, and frankly, I hope they continue to screw it up because I hate that they're just getting to sign the best players in the world, and everybody else's team has to help them beat us later this year. It seems kind of like a weird way to do a league, if you ask me.
It is. Good job today, sir. Thank you. That's our producer,
Pleasure.
audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio. Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes, of course.
I'm glad that Brooke had fun. Danny Mac, good to have you in the room.
Always great to crash your show.
It's your show. It's our show.
Brooke and Randy.
No.
And live in the morning,
And
Mac.
Danny.
It's the opening drive team. Coming up, you've got Josh Innes, and then after that, you've got BKM Ferrario from 11 to 2, and then 2 to 6, you've got the fast lane. And, so sausage or egg biscuit, Danny?
Do sausage and egg.
Okay, you got it. Brooke?
Can I have 2 things?
Yes.
I want the cinnamon raisin
You got
biscuit.
that. But sausage,
and
what kind of biscuit?
Bacon, 1.
Bacon. Okay, that's sausage or egg or bacon. Okay,
Yes.
we'll do that. Matthew?
Can I also ask for 2 things?
Yes.
2 sausage egg biscuits.
Oh.
Okay, we'll handle that. That's Heat Up St. Louis tomorrow at all participating Hardee's locations. Thanks for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. For all of us, until tomorrow morning at 7, have a great Friday Eve, everyone.
And now for something completely different.